Chapter 804. Did my thing poke you? Ning Fan looked at the little girl below him with a strange expression. His current posture of pressing her down was indeed very strange. His hands subconsciously held the little lass's pair of soft and tender wrists tightly. His breath was just an inch away from her. He could not help but blow on the little girl's red cheeks. He could even smell the faint body fragrance on her body. His body was intimately connected with the little girl's even though they were still separated by their clothes. He moved his body subconsciously as if he had poked some soft spot. You. Shameless. The little girl screamed in extreme embarrassment and anger. Her petite body that was just like an 11 or 12 years old girl somehow found the strength to do so. Suddenly, a strange purplish black light shone around her body. With a violent tremble, it formed a boundless force that directly sent Ning Fan flying into the sky and out of the heavenly pit. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned cold. Others might not be able to sense what that purplish black light was, but he could. That purplish black light was the demonic power of the Fu Li clan. However, when the little girl used it, it was exactly the same as magic power. There was no difference at all. The chi of the Fu Li clan could not be sensed at all. This girl really has a great affinity with my Fu Li clan. As he thought of this, after flying out of the heavenly pit, he immediately stopped his ascension and stood in the sky. Without saying a word, he completely suppressed the power of the ancestral blood of the Fu Li clan in his body to prevent it from sensing the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao. Ning Fan did not have the intention to recognize the bloodline of the Fu Li clan with this little girl at all. From Ning Fan's point of view, this girl was the disciple of the tribulation-controlling immortal emperor. Besides, she possessed the power of the Fu Li clan. God knows if he would attract great trouble after exposing his ancestral blood of the Fu Li clan. After the little girl sent Ning Fan flying, she immediately leaped out of the heavenly pit with a face full of shame and anger. She raised her hand and pointed at Ning Fan. Immediately, a ray of dark golden sword light emitted a terrifying sword whistle. It drew a long black rainbow in the sky. The sword light was elegant and perfect, slashing towards Ning Fan. This sword strike was the little girl's resentful strike, but she only used 30% of her strength. She didn't intend to severely injure Ning Fan, she just wanted to teach him a lesson. With her current early truth-crossing realm cultivation base, unless she had suffered a huge grievance, she would also disdain to make a move against Ning Fan, a cultivator from the lower realm. At this moment, the little lass's mood was not only sullen, but also filled with rage. As she could not stand Ning Fan's continuous breakthroughs and teasing, she begged the imperial monarch for her grace and left her post in the heavenly Tao of the lower world to spend her days in the Four Fish sect. Who would have thought that they would actually run into this detestable Ning Fan when they were carrying out a mission with the Lightning Division of the Four Profound sect? This damned ill-fated relationship. Not only did they encounter each other, he even openly took advantage of her. Not only did he take advantage of me, he actually continued to twist his body and poke, sword of life and death. Chop. Chop. The little lass glared at Ning Fan like a resentful woman. With a curl of her finger, the black gold treasure sword that had 30% of its power flashed and directly slashed 3 inches away from Ning Fan's forehead. A sharp cold chi spread out from the edge of the sword. Even Ning Fan's eyes flickered. Even though he was shocked, the sword was not strong enough to hurt him. Moreover, it had only unleashed 30% of its power. Ning Fan's body swayed, turning into an afterimage and reappearing 1,000 zhang away. The sword light immediately turned around and slashed at him again. Ning Fan raised his hand and grabbed at the sword light. He clenched his fist tightly. In an instant, the black gold treasure sword immediately trembled and flew back to the little lass's direction. This time, the little lass did not continue to attack Ning Fan. She subconsciously caught the black gold treasure sword that flew back to her. She stared at Ning Fan in disbelief with her eyes and mouth wide open. Her spirit seemed to have suffered a great impact. No. It's not a void fragmentation realm. It's a profound ghost realm. Mid-profound ghost realm, it has only been 100 years since I left my identity as the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao of the lower world, and he has actually grown to such a level from a void fragmentation realm cultivator. Ning Fan looked at the little lass with amusement. He did not feel displeased because of that sword attack. On the contrary, he felt extremely good. When he saw the little lass, he felt like he had met an old friend in a foreign land. After all, from Ning Fan's point of view, even though he had some friction with her in the beginning, they had turned from enemies to friends in the end. Moreover, she had even given him gifts many times, even though those gifts gradually became strange and bizarre. Someone's spirit sense is coming. Ning Fan suddenly moved and appeared in front of the little lass. With a flick of his sleeve, circles of black flames immediately appeared beneath their feet. In an instant, the two of them disappeared from where they stood, leaving behind an inexplicable heavenly pit. It was a quiet and secluded forest with thin spiritual qi. It was far away from the cultivation city. Normally, no cultivators would come to this place except for the little lass who was leisurely munching on the 8 treasures cake. Normally, there would not be any powerful true immortals who would spread their spirit sense to investigate this place unless something like the following happened. Ning Fan crashed into the heavenly eye star with a terrifying traveling light. It was similar to a battle between true immortals taking place in this place. Not long after Ning Fan and the little lass left this place, 10 traces of the Du True Divine Sense and 1 trace of the sky-rending spirit sense scanned the heavenly pit. When they discovered that there was only a huge pit left in this place and the cultivator who used the traveling light was nowhere to be seen, all the old monsters felt that it was a pity. They were the cultivators of the heavenly eye star. Originally, they wanted to investigate carefully to find out who was the one who used the traveling light. Unfortunately, Ning Fan left too quickly and they had no chance to meet each other. Above a huge swamp that was millions of li away, Ning Fan and the little lass appeared at the same time. A certain silly girl only regained her senses at this moment and realized that she had been abducted to another place. Your alertness is really bad. You are still in a daze when I am already so close to you. Are you really the disciple of a dignified immortal emperor and the former heavenly Tao of the lower world? Ning Fan looked at the little lass with a faint smile. Humph. My alertness has always been very good. The little lass glared at Ning Fan with dissatisfaction. There were still some crumbs of the 8 treasures cake on her lips that she had yet to wipe off. Usually, her alertness was extremely good. Even a fly would not be able to fly to her side. It seemed like this was the only time when she was beside Ning Fan that she lost her composure and let her guard down. Ning Fan seemed to be very special. As for the reason, I don't know. She believed that she hated Ning Fan. That was what she believed. Suddenly, the little lass recalled that she was fighting with Ning Fan just now. Without saying anything, she grabbed her black gold treasure sword and was about to slash Ning Fan again. Thief, watch out for my sword. Ugh. Thief, Ning Fan looked at the little lass speechlessly. From a certain point of view, he was indeed a thief. However, he really did not do anything to this little lass, right? What could a little girl who was only 11 or 12 years old do? Ning Fan gently raised 2 of his fingers and caught the sword light. He smiled helplessly. Just now, I used up too much magic power to fly away. It has almost reached the limit of my current magic power. At this moment, it is very difficult for me to use too much magic power to fight. However, if you really want to spar with me, I will naturally accompany you to the end considering our past friendship. Past friendship? Who has a friendship with you? I. The little girl of the heavenly Tao was at a loss for words. Suddenly, she recalled something and said to Ning Fan. By the way, why can you use the piercing golden light? Piercing golden light? Are you referring to the golden escaping rainbow that I used just now? When she mentioned the escaping rainbow, Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned solemn. Just now, he was wholeheartedly using the Black Devil escape technique. Unknowingly, he used that golden escaping rainbow. The speed of that golden escaping rainbow was really terrifying. It flew across the distance of a high-grade star region in an instant. Of course, that golden escaping rainbow also consumed a terrifying amount of magic power. Moreover, it seemed like it would cause the divine, demon, and devil bloodlines to boil, so, that escaping technique is called the piercing golden light? Huh. You don't know about the piercing golden light and you just used it. The little lass looked at Ning Fan as if she was looking at a monster. However, she did not say anything else. You know the piercing golden light very well. Can you give me some information about this technique? Ning Fan asked. The piercing golden light is a lost ability from the ancient times. Very few people know about it. Every word about it is worth 1,000 gold. I'm not related to you at all. Why should I tell you? Humph. The little lass let out a proud harumph and turned around to leave. She did not want to stay here for a second longer. Ning Fan was stunned. Even though he was intelligent, he could not understand why the little lass who had always been friendly to him would give him a cold look this time. She even seemed a little annoyed. After taking a few steps, she suddenly thought of something. She turned around and said to Ning Fan angrily. Oh right. Compensate me for my 8 treasures cake. You crushed my 8 treasures cake. I can't even eat it now. 8 treasures cake. Ning Fan was slightly stunned. He vaguely remembered that when he fell from the sky just now, he did crush a piece of cake. Compensate me for my 8 treasures cake. If you don't compensate me, I will fight you to the death. The little lass waved her black gold treasure sword a few times to demonstrate her power. Ning Fan shook his head with a smile and asked, how do you want to compensate me? Dao Crystal. Use Dao Crystal to compensate me. The 8 treasures cake is made from 8 types of precious spiritual herbs. There's a 500,000 years old heavenly Dao ginseng, a 450,000 years old purple grade Ganoderma and a 620,000 years old 9 twists spiritual root. Other than that, there's also... The little lass mumbled a bunch of things. At the end of her speech, she looked at Ning Fan with a pained expression and stretched out 4 fingers. Compensate me with this amount of Dao crystal. From today onwards, we don't owe each other anything. What she meant was for Ning Fan to compensate her with 40 million Dao crystal. After all, the raw materials of the 8 treasures cake only added up to 10 million Dao crystal. 40 million Dao crystal was not a small amount. Ning Fan, however, misunderstood the little lass's expectation. After thinking for a while, he took out a storage pouch and passed it to her helplessly. Fine. Your 8 treasures cake was indeed destroyed by me. It's only right for me to compensate you with some Dao crystal. Humph. It's only right and proper to repay a debt. Ah. So many. The little lass stared at the storage pouch in disbelief. There were more than 400 million Dao crystal in it. 10 times. Ning Fan actually compensated her with 10 times the amount of Dao crystal. What is a tycoon? This is it. Did I give too much? Ning Fan asked with slight surprise. Not much. Not much. The little lass pretended to be serious. However, there was a cute and gentle smile hidden in the corner of her eyes. It was as if there was a crystal light flashing in her eyes. 400 million Dao crystal. Ning Fan actually gave her 400 million Dao crystal so casually. Her little heart was beating rapidly. Her little hands could not help but tremble. The way she looked at Ning Fan also made her favorable impression on him soar. In the past, she disliked Ning Fan, but now, she felt that he was really pleasing to the eye. As the disciple of an immortal emperor and a true immortal Du Zhen, she actually did not lack money. However, she was a money grubber. She was a miser. The reason why she wanted money was not to spend it. She would feel satisfied just by occupying and admiring the piles of Dao crystal. Because of this, she was often called a little idiot by others. As a cultivator, if she did not use her wealth, what else could she be if she was not an idiot? The reason why she was afraid of the little demoness like a tiger was because the little demoness had once tricked her into making a bet and swindled all of her Tao crystal. Moreover, she still owed the little demoness a few billion Tao crystal in name, therefore, every time she saw the little demoness, she would avoid her as if she was avoiding a snake or a scorpion. There was no other way. She had to avoid her debt, didn't she? However, she was an extremely principled person. She would never betray her principles for money. At least, that was what she thought. Ning Fan felt a little puzzled. He could not understand why the little girl's attitude towards him changed from cold to warm. The little girl suddenly looked at Ning Fan fervently and said bashfully and shamelessly. Ning Fan. No, no, no. Fellow Taoist Ning, do you still remember the half piece of 8 treasures cake that I gave you before? You haven't paid for that half piece. You still owe me 200 million. I also need to pay for that half piece. Fine. 200 million it is. To Ning Fan, who had 910 billion Tao crystal, a few hundred million Tao crystal was really not worth mentioning. With a wave of his hand, he took out a storage pouch filled with Tao crystal and passed it to the little girl. The little girl received the storage pouch and had a look. She almost fainted from happiness. Just by moving her mouth, she managed to swindle 600 million Tao crystal from Ning Fan. What else in the world could be happier than earning money? She was indeed happy. However, when she saw Ning Fan's innocent and harmless smile, she felt very guilty. She felt like a wretched elder sister who tricked a child into eating haws. One had to know that she had never swindled anyone's money before. Ning Fan was the first one who willingly took the bait. She felt a little guilty. She did not dare to look Ning Fan in the eyes anymore. After thinking for a while, she kept the black gold treasure sword and took out a jade slip. She recorded all the information she knew about the golden light on the ground into the slip and gave it to Ning Fan. This is the jade slip about the golden light on the ground. I didn't give you this jade slip because I'm guilty or because I felt guilty. It's also not because I cheated you of your money. I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first. She shoved the jade slip into Ning Fan's hands and almost ran away in panic. Ning Fan was stunned. Suddenly, he seemed to have understood something. He smiled faintly and looked at the back of the little girl meaningfully. So you're a little money grubber. Interesting. It's just that you're too kind and muddle-headed. If you don't tell me, how would I know that you're feeling guilty because you cheated me of my money? He was not in a hurry to look at the jade slip in his hand. Instead, he calmly took out a storage pouch which contained about 100 million Tao crystal. He looked at the back of the little girl who was running away and said with a harmless smile. I don't think I can take your jade slip for free. How about I give you 100 million Tao crystal? 100 million. So much. The information I know about the golden light on the ground is just a little bit. It's far from worth this price. The little girl who originally wanted to run away stopped abruptly on the spot. Her face was flushed and her heart was racing. Her rationality told her that she should stay away from Ning Fan. The further the better. However, Ning Fan wanted to give her 100 million Tao crystal. Since he had given it to her, how could she not take it? That would be such a waste. Besides, from the bottom of her heart, she did not seem to hate Ning Fan as much as she imagined. Not only did she not hate him, but when she was hit by Ning Fan, she actually felt secretly delighted. That feeling was so deeply hidden that even she herself did not notice it. The reason why I came to the Heavenly Eye Star is to use the Divine Weapon Lake to recuperate something. However, I've just arrived here and I'm not familiar with this place. How about this? You can be my guide and accompany me to the Divine Weapon Lake. In return, I'll pay you 1 billion Tao crystal as a commission. What do you think? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a faint smile. It was not that he was unfamiliar with the Heavenly Eye Star. He just wanted to get close to the little girl and find out about the secrets about Fu Li. He was not afraid of people being greedy. What he was most afraid of was people not having a weakness. If there was a weakness, he could slowly take advantage of it. As for this little girl, even though she was a little greedy, she was not a bad person. From Ning Fan's point of view, this little girl was just a little money grubber. Moreover, she was a little naive and muddle-headed. As long as he used some tricks and Tao crystal, he would most likely be able to get some useful information from her. Information related to Fu Li. WH. What? If I accompany you to the Divine Weapon Lake, I'll be able to get 1 billion Tao crystal. The little girl was about to faint from the happiness that came one after another. She originally wanted to go to the Divine Weapon Lake. However, she was just going to travel with Ning Fan and be his guide. She could get the Tao crystal for free. It was such a great profit. However, before I go to the Divine Weapon Lake, I still want to take a stroll around the largest trading city on the Heavenly Eye Star. You don't mind bringing me there, do you? Ning Fan asked with a smile. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. The little girl puffed up her chest and said confidently. Oh yeah, I remember that your name is Sheng Sheng, right? Ning Fan changed the topic and asked. No, Sheng Sheng is just my code name when I was the Tao spirit of the Heavenly Tao. I was originally nameless, but the imperial monarch gave me a name. It's called Li Xiao Xiao. The word Li means Li, and the word Xiao means Xiao. The little girl answered almost all of his questions. She collected the crystals very quickly. Naturally, her service was very good. Li Xiao Xiao. Could the word Li refer to Fu Li? Ning Fan pondered. A moment later, Ning Fan took out another 1 billion Tao crystals and gave them to Li Xiao Xiao together with the 100 million he had just received. Li Xiao Xiao kept the Tao crystals and grinned from ear to ear in happiness. All of a sudden, her body shook and she turned into a beautiful winged demon that was half black and half white. She raised her beak and spread her wings, landing in front of Ning Fan and said, Come on. I can fly very fast after I transform. I will bring you to the largest trading city on the Heavenly Eye Star. The winged demon said enthusiastically. Is there a riding service? Just because I gave you the Tao crystals? Ning Fan asked with a strange look. Pooh! How can you say that? I have never carried anyone before. Even the imperial monarch doesn't allow me to sit on my back. Who else has the honor of sitting on my back like you? Humph. So what if you have some stinky money? If you don't want to ride me, I don't want to let you sit on my back either. As she was speaking, the winged demon's body flashed with light and she was about to return to her human form. Ning Fan smiled and approached her. He patted her feathers and said apologetically. I'm sorry. I said the wrong thing. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan leaped onto her back and sat cross-legged on her neck. Then, he began to read the information jade slip about the golden light that pierced through the ground. After Ning Fan apologized to her, the winged demon felt a little uncomfortable. She hesitated and did not know what to say. In the end, she just said, Sit properly, in a weak voice and carried Ning Fan high up into the sky. They flew towards the largest trading city on the Heavenly Eye Star, Gazing Cloud City. Li Xiao Xiao had an early true crossing realm cultivation base. After transforming into her demon form, her flying speed became even faster. She was even faster than ordinary mid-true crossing realm cultivators. Ning Fan riding on such an eye-catching mount naturally attracted the attention of many people. When he arrived at the Gazing Cloud City, almost all the cultivators in the city raised their necks and looked at the shocking scene in the sky. Many cultivators even exclaimed in Ning Fan's direction. Who is that? He doesn't look like old monster Shi Kong. Why does he have a true crossing realm demonic beast as his mount? Could it be that he's a disciple of some Shi Kong old monster? Chapter 805. Piercing golden light is an ancient lost divine ability. Those who practice this technique will ignite the Samadhi Dao fire and walk like the 9 passing golden rainbows. They will reside in the heaven and earth and travel across 10,000 realms, leaving no trace of them. There is no cultivation method for this technique. There are very few people who know about this technique. According to the imperial monarch, this technique can only be comprehended and cultivated by individuals. It can't be taught orally. The key to mastering this technique lies in the 8 words body igniting samadhi, walk like the 9 passing. Within 4 days, there are less than 10 people who have comprehended this technique, and the imperial monarch is one of them. Ning Fan sat on the winged demon and looked at the jade slip in his hand. His eyes were deep and unpredictable. All the exclamations in the cloud-gazing city below did not attract his attention. At this moment, his mood was extremely complicated. He had never thought that the piercing golden light that he had accidentally displayed was actually such a rare and peerless divine ability. Across the 4 heavens, there were less than 10 people who had learned this technique, and the immortal Emperor Zhang Jie was one of them. There were even fewer people who knew about this technique. Perhaps no one would be able to recognize this great divine ability even if he traveled all the way to the heavenly eye star. As for the cultivation of this technique, there was no other way but to comprehend it on one's own. The key to mastering it was body-igniting samadhi, walk like the 9 passing, body-igniting samadhi. Does it mean that the divine, demon, and devil bloodlines in my body are boiling and the surface of my body is burning with golden flames? As for, walk like the 9 passing, what does it mean? Ning Fan shook his head and sighed softly. He had just studied the Black Devil escape technique because of the great increase in his comprehension ability. He did not expect that he would accidentally display the piercing golden light. It was a coincidence. Perhaps it was also the inevitable result of comprehending the unity of heaven and man. In terms of speed, the piercing golden light was definitely faster than the Black Devil escape technique and the ground shrinking technique. However, he had no idea how to cultivate it. However, it would be extremely difficult for him to use the piercing golden light again. At this moment, Ning Fan did not know how to display the piercing golden light technique again. However, it was not enough to dispel Ning Fan's determination to cultivate the earth-piercing golden light. It should be said that it was impossible for him to give up cultivating this technique since the first time he experienced that kind of earth-shattering speed. I was only able to unleash the piercing golden light by accident, but even so, the technique's speed is comparable to that of an ancient cultivator. If I can really master this technique, it will definitely be a great trump card for me to escape. However, the cultivation of this technique cannot be rushed. The most important thing is comprehension. In this aspect, it is far inferior to the Black Demon escape. Not only do I need to comprehend the vertical golden light, I also need to perfect the west wind technique. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. The reason why he came to Gazing Cloud City was to buy some spiritual herbs to refine pills in order to perfect the west wind technique. Not only that, he had also come here to look for the pill formula for the fantasy pill and to purchase all the information jade slips related to the union of heaven and man. As for repairing the puppet, that would be after this trip. There was no slaughter pavilion in the eastern sea star region and its surrounding star regions. Otherwise, Ning Fan could just purchase information from the slaughter pavilion. There was a pavilion in every mid-grade and above cultivation planet in the eastern sea star region that sold all kinds of heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures. It was called the Commercial Pavilion. The 4 pavilions of the Godly Void Star region were divided into the Sect Pavilion, the Punishment Pavilion, the Military Pavilion and the Commercial Pavilion according to their authority. The disciples of the Sect Pavilion were only responsible for cultivation. At the same time, they would also carry out various confidential tasks of the Godly Void Pavilion. The Punishment Pavilion was in charge of rewards and punishment, appointment and dismissal of many other matters. It was the pavilion with the most elders among the 4 pavilions. The Military Pavilion was in charge of the battle. Most of the experts who were responsible for intercepting Sun Luo at the outer perimeter of the Eastern Sea region were from the Military Pavilion. Only a few of them were summoned by the Star Lords of the various cultivation planets. Therefore, after this battle, the Military Pavilion would be the pavilion whose strength was the most weakened among the 4 pavilions. The Commercial Pavilion only had one responsibility, and that was to earn Dao crystals for the 4 pavilions of the Godly Void Star region to purchase all kinds of cultivation methods and pills for the disciples of the 4 pavilions to cultivate. Li Xiaoxiao, who had transformed into a winged demon, carried Ning Fan all the way to the commercial pavilion of Gazing Cloud City. There were more than 10,000 cultivation shops in Gazing Cloud City. However, even if all the items in the shops were added together, it might not even be 1% of the value of the commercial pavilion. This commercial pavilion was specially opened for second-step cultivators. As for first-step cultivators, they could purchase the items they need in Gazing Cloud City. Ning Fan naturally knew about the information of the 4 pavilions of the godly Void Star region. He sat on the winged demon's back and looked down through the layers of clouds. He saw a massive pavilion built at the center of Gazing Cloud City. The interior of the pavilion had its own space while the exterior of the pavilion was filled with purple smoke. The moment he saw the purple smoke, Ning Fan's eyes narrowed. If he was not mistaken, the purple smoke should be an extremely profound defensive formation. When they arrived at this place, Li Xiaoxiao withdrew her wings and turned back into her human form. She followed Ning Fan and descended to the ground. Then, she said to Ning Fan with a smile. Ning Fan. No. Fellow Taoist Ning, we've arrived at the commercial pavilion. You should go in and buy some items. I'll be waiting for you outside. Waiting for me? Aren't you going in with me? Ning Fan asked. Then, his gaze swept across the entrance of the commercial pavilion. He saw 2 door gods standing proudly outside the pavilion. Each of them was 10 zhang tall. These 2 door gods were puppets made of bronze. Their cultivation bases were at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Every time someone enters the commercial pavilion, the 2 door gods would collect a certain amount of Dao crystals from that person as the fee to enter the pavilion. The fee was not high. It was just 1 million Dao crystals per person. To second-step cultivators, it was naturally not a huge sum of money. However, to a miser like Li Xiaoxiao, 1 million Dao crystals might not necessarily be a small amount of money. Perhaps, it would make a certain someone so distressed that he would have a sleepless night. Could it be that this little girl doesn't want to accompany me in because she can't bear to part with the entrance fee of 1 million Dao crystals? Ning Fan shook his head with a smile. He did not expose Li Xiaoxiao's thoughts and just left her waiting outside. After paying the fee, he entered the commercial pavilion on his own. Just as he was about to step into the pavilion, the little girl suddenly called out to Ning Fan and said with a bashful smile. Wait. Fellow Taoist Ning, no. Big brother Ning, since you're going in anyway, you won't mind buying something for me along the way, right? The little girl blinked her long eyelashes and suddenly opened her mouth to beg. Buy something along the way. What is it? Ning Fan asked with a smile. Lava core, 1 tail. No, 2 tails. Low-grade lava core will do. Mid-grade lava core is too expensive. The price of a high-grade lava core is simply killing people. Wait, I think I should get a mid-grade lava core. No. I think I should get a high-grade one. Although I can use the power of the divine weapon lake to repair it, what if I can't repair it properly? The little girl grumbled to herself as she struggled with her thoughts. The artifact spirit of this woman's magic treasure is damaged. You need a lava core to repair it. Is it a very important magical treasure? Ning Fan's eyes flickered. As far as he knew, the lava heart was a type of spiritual item in the form of dust. It had the effect of perfectly repairing the spirit of a fire element magical treasure. Generally speaking, this item was divided into 3 grades, high, medium, and low. Of course, there were also top-grade ones, but they were too rare, appearing only once every 100 years. The lava core was sold at a price of 2, and it was extremely expensive. Even a low-grade lava core could only be bought with 1 or 200 million Dao crystals. As for high-grade lava cores, they could probably be sold for billions of Dao crystals. As for the legendary top-grade lava core, if it really exists, it would probably fetch a sky-high price. If it wasn't for the sake of repairing an extremely important magical treasure, this little girl who was stingy with 1 million Dao crystals would definitely not be willing to buy 2 tails of high-grade lava core, Here, this is 10 billion Tao crystals. It's a total of 10 billion Tao crystals. I have counted it 3 times. Take it and buy 2 tails of high-grade lava core for me. I will refund you if you overpay and make up for the deficiency. Do you understand? The little girl did not know where she got her trust from. She passed the storage pouch that contained 10 billion Tao crystals to Ning Fan. She stared at the storage pouch with a pained expression. These 10 billion Tao crystals were almost all of her wealth. During her boring days in the lower world, she had spent more than 500 years counting 200,000 Tao crystals every day. She counted the 10 billion Tao crystals 3 times. Ordinary people would never be able to understand how deeply Xiao Zhao's feelings for these Tao crystals were. Ordinary people would never have the same perseverance as Li Xiao. She counted the Tao crystals day and night for 500 years. This Li Xiao is indeed a strange person. However, in terms of perseverance, I'm afraid there are only a few people in this world who can be compared to her. She has been doing the same thing for 500 years without any regrets and never forgetting her original intention. Is this also a kind of stubbornness? Ning Fan pondered and kept Li Xiao's storage pouch. Under the latter's distressed gaze, he stepped into the merchant pavilion. The interior of the merchant pavilion had 3 floors. The area of the first floor was almost 10 times the size of Wangyun City. It was filled with all kinds of cultivation shops. On the first floor, there were no cultivators in the merchant pavilion to receive customers. The shopkeepers of each shop and the guards patrolling the streets were all puppets. On the empty first floor, there were only 100 or so Life Immortal Realm cultivators shopping. Some of them were cultivators from the eastern extremity continent while others were cultivators from other star regions. The Life Immortal Realm cultivators who came here to shop would rarely chat with each other unless they were familiar with each other. Ning Fan walked past countless shops along the way and met many Life Immortal Realm cultivators. He purposely emitted the chi of a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator to not attract too much attention. It was not strange for him to meet fellow Life Immortal Realm cultivators in this merchant pavilion. On the other hand, if he purposely concealed his ghost profound realm cultivation base, it would only arouse fear, attention, and suspicion from others. Ning Fan did not want to attract too much attention in this place and cause any trouble. Based on his senses, there were at least 3 Shikong Shi who were guarding this heavenly eye star. The reason why he came here was to repair his spiritual puppets. If he causes any trouble, it would not be good for him. Ning Fan stayed on the first floor for about 2 hours and bought all the spiritual herbs he needed. The reason he bought these spiritual herbs was to concoct a 7th revolution pill called Zhuiyang pill. As for the Zhuiyang pill, it was to perfect his west wind technique. Other than the medicinal herbs for the Zhuiyang pill, he also bought all the information about the unity of heaven and man on the first floor and some information jade slips about the Bell sacrifice of the godly void pavilion. After reading the information, Ning Fan's expression kept changing. He stood on the spot and pondered for a long time. Then, he left the first floor and used the teleportation formation to reach the second floor of the merchant pavilion. There were only 30 or so cultivation shops scattered on the second floor of the merchant pavilion. It was not very big. Every shop on this floor was served by a void fragmentation realm cultivator. Only a small number of Life Immortal Realm cultivators would come to this floor to shop. Most of them were early or mid-true crossing realm cultivators. There were 20 or so customers on this floor. When Ning Fan arrived, he did not attract much attention. On the second floor, he even bought the pill recipe for the Illusion Life pill as he wished. With the pill recipe in hand, he quietly returned to the first floor and bought all the medicinal herbs required for the pill recipe. In this way, he could use the illusory devil dust to concoct an Illusion Life pill. After buying all the medicinal herbs required for the Illusion Life pill, Ning Fan's purpose of coming to this merchant pavilion had been achieved. However, he did not leave because a certain money-grubbing little girl had asked him to buy 2 tails of lava core. With the value of the lava core, they naturally would not be sold on the first floor. Ning Fan returned to the second floor. However, he did not see any lava core being sold on the second floor. Thus, he went to the teleportation formation of the second floor and asked a void fragmentation realm receptionist. There doesn't seem to be any lava core being sold on the second floor. Is this item being sold on the third floor? Or does this item not exist in this merchant pavilion? As soon as he heard Ning Fan's question, the void fragmentation realm receptionist immediately revealed a shocked expression and asked. Senior, could it be that you are also here to fight for the two tails of lava core? After the void fragmentation realm receptionist asked the question, he studied Ning Fan repeatedly. After a while, he gritted his teeth and advised with good intentions. Forgive me for being straightforward. It's better for Senior not to participate in the fight for this item. On the third floor, there are a few Senior Du Zhen who are fighting for this item. Moreover, all of them are the tomb guardians of this tomb competition. Even though the void fragmentation realm receptionist's cultivation base was not high, he had seen many mid-ghost profound realm old monsters after working in the merchant pavilion for a long time. As Ning Fan deliberately released his chi, he could vaguely tell that Ning Fan's cultivation base was at the mid-ghost profound realm. As far as he knew, there were a few senior Duzhen fighting for the lava core on the third floor of the merchant pavilion. Those senior Duzhen were the tomb guardians chosen by the major forces in the eastern Sea Star region. Their cultivation base was high and their background was even more impressive. The void fragmentation realm receptionist thought that Ning Fan was also here to fight for the lava core. He was afraid that Ning Fan would be at a disadvantage. That was why he advised Ning Fan with kind words. After all, he did not think that Ning Fan, who was at the life immortal realm, would make a wise move by competing for treasures with many true immortals. Lava core of supreme grade. Tomb guardians. Ning Fan's eyes flickered and he fell into deep thought. He knew what a tomb guardian was. He also knew that the void fragmentation realm receptionist probably misunderstood something. He shook his head slightly and said politely to the receptionist. Thank you for your reminder. However, you don't have to worry. I just want to buy a high-grade lava core. I have no intention of fighting for the lava core of supreme grade with anyone. Just as Ning Fan's words fell, a sarcastic and harsh voice of a woman suddenly came from the teleportation formation. Oh. You're just a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator. You sure have a big tone. From what you said, it seems like you just don't want to fight for the lava core of supreme grade and not because you can't get it. Even I don't have any confidence that I can get it. The one who spoke was a lady in purple robes who had just come to the second floor from the first floor. She had a graceful figure and a beautiful appearance. However, her eyes were too arrogant. The way she looked at Ning Fan was also filled with the arrogance that was cultivated from living a comfortable life since young. This lady in purple robes had a peak ghost profound realm cultivation base. Behind her, there were a few mortal profound realm maids. As soon as the lady finished speaking, she led the group of maids towards the teleportation formation of the third floor. She did not pay much attention to Ning Fan. Ning Fan frowned, but he did not care about the lady's unkind words. On the other hand, there were many old monsters on the second floor. When they saw the lady in purple robes, they revealed thoughtful expressions. Some of them even whispered. Is it the young lord of the Luo clan? Is she also here to fight for the lava core? This lady's cultivation base might not be as good as Du Zhen's, but she has the Luo clan behind her. The Luo clan that they were talking about was naturally the Battle King Luo clan. Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. He took a few more glances at the back of the lady in purple robes and fell into deep thought. He had already heard about the name of the young lord of the Luo clan from Luo Shao. She was one of the 8 tomb guardians of the Luo clan this time. Moreover, she was the one with the highest cultivation base among them, the young lord of the Luo clan, Luo Xian. If I want to obtain the position of tomb guardian of the Luo clan, not only do I need to get the approval of the clan leader of the Luo clan, I also need to get the approval of this lady, the divine tomb. Tomb competition. Tomb guardian. This is one of the reasons why I joined the Luo clan as a foreign elder. The war god transformation is just one of them. Ning Fan scanned his storage pouch with his spirit sense and looked at the void token inside. Then, he let out a sigh. If I only have the void token and don't have the identity of a tomb guardian, it would still be impossible for me to enter the bottom floor of the divine tomb. This was the information he obtained after coming to the Spirit Platform Star. The reason why he requested to become the Spirit Platform Star Lord was also to prepare for the position of Tomb Guardian. Chapter 806. After withdrawing his spirit sense, Ning Fan's eyes changed unpredictably. Then, he looked at the back of the lady in purple robes which carried an inexplicable meaning. Luo Xiao had reminded me repeatedly that this young lord of the Luo clan, Luo Xian, has a bad personality and I must never offend her. She has the right to decide the quota of tomb guardians for my clan. Ning Fan had already known about the tomb competition before. As for the information about the bell sacrifice, he had also bought quite a lot from the merchant pavilion. Even though there was no confidential information, it was enough for him to understand the meaning of the word offering. The godly void pavilion of the Eastern Sea Star region would hold a bell sacrifice on the void star every once in a while. Before the bell sacrifice, a tomb competition would be held on the divine void star. During the competition, the forces that formed the godly void pavilion would each send their own tomb guardians to participate in the competition. Only forces that were at the 7th grade and above were qualified to send their tomb guardians to participate in this grand competition. The tomb guardians who participated in the competition would receive different rewards according to their ranking in the competition. If they were in the top 50, they would receive a different number of void tokens. If they were in the top 10, not only would they receive an void token, but they would also be granted a title by the godly void pavilion. Moreover, they would receive a cup of primordial spirit wine from the bell sacrifice. The void token was the proof to enter the last 3 levels of the divine tomb. It was also the key to obtain opportunities there. As for the primordial spirit wine, it was a great nourishment. If a life immortal realm cultivator at the human profound or ghost profound realm consumes a cup of it and goes into seclusion for 100 years, his cultivation base would most likely rise by a small realm. Even true immortals like Du Zhen, Shi Kong, and Xin Yan could greatly improve their cultivation base after consuming the primordial spirit wine. Even the immortal venerables, immortal kings and immortal emperors from the ancient times could also obtain great benefits from the primordial spirit wine. Due to the primordial spirit wine, the bell sacrifice had won the attention of countless old monsters in the eastern heaven. Due to the primordial spirit wine, the void token and other rewards, the tomb competition also attracted a lot of attention. The bell sacrifice is a list of sacrificial offerings drawn up by the forces of the divine void realm. In the end, one person will be chosen from the list to be sacrificed to the heaven-suppressing bell. After the sacrificial offering dies, his primordial spirit will turn into immortal wine for some experts to drink. During the sacrificial ceremony, all the cultivators participating in the ceremony will have the opportunity to break a great secret left by the East Heaven Ancestor Emperor in the heaven-suppressing bell. The godly void pavilion has been passed down for many years, and the bell festival has also been held countless times. However, no one has been able to see through the secrets of the heaven-suppressing bell. Now, the bell festival is merely a grand ceremony of killing and sacrificing, and dividing the wine amongst the immortals. That's all. The woman Sun Luo loved was once a sacrifice. She was offered to the heaven-suppressing bell by a divine void realm expert and her primordial spirit was eaten by the group of immortals. Xi's name is also in the godly void pavilion's sacrificial list. Using the tomb as a comparison, Ning Fan once again thought of the information related to Zhong Ji. His eyes were burning with anger. It was silent but it was frightening. On the surface, the little witch was the revered divine void young master. Secretly, the little demon girl's name was on the list of offerings in the godly void pavilion. If she was not careful, she could be chosen as a sacrifice and be sacrificed to death. Fortunately, Sun Luo destroyed the heaven-suppressing bell, causing the godly void pavilion's painstakingly prepared bell festival to have no choice but to cancel. Ning Fan temporarily did not need to worry about the little demon girl becoming a sacrifice and having her primordial spirit divided by the group of immortals. However, from the moment he completely understood the little demon girl's identity as a sacrifice, Ning Fan no longer had any good impression of the godly void pavilion. Inside the slaughter hall, it is admittedly cold-blooded and merciless, killing each other, but this kind of killing, after all, is still in line with the cultivation world's concept of, the strong survive while the weak die. In that place, killing is for the sake of training, to let each disciple from killing each other, to train a strong survival ability. Although the method is extreme, the killer is not necessarily happy, only helpless, only having no choice but to kill, that's all. As for the godly Void Pavilion, when they held the Bell Festival, the group of immortals actually became complacent because they ate other people's primordial spirit. They kill for fun. If the person being the sacrifice has nothing to do with me, perhaps I will also ignore all of this. After all, the time of sacrifice is a common occurrence in the cultivation world. However, if there is a day when the heaven-suppressing bell is repaired and the Bell Festival is reopened, and Asii is coincidentally chosen as a sacrifice, on that day, I'm afraid that I will also be like Sanluo and do something crazy. However, the current me is far inferior to Sanluo, and that is cultivation base. The reason why Sanluo dared to fight Dong Tian alone was because of his high cultivation base. As for me, I am just a ghost profound immortal who has just stepped into the second step of life immortal realm. Above life immortal realm, there are three true immortals, Du Zhen, Shikong, and thought-breaking immortal realm. There are also immortal venerables, immortal kings and immortal emperors. Sanluo can fight the 12 emperors alone, but the current me has the body of a life immortal, standing above tens of thousands of people. However, there are still tens of thousands of people above me. Ning Fan's eyes were deep. After the purple-robed lady entered the third floor, he also walked towards the teleportation formation of the third floor. He would work hard to obtain the other half of the ancient chaos inheritance in the bottom floor of the divine tomb. Everything was for the sake of improving his cultivation base and strength. There were two ways to obtain the inheritance of the last 3 floors of the divine tomb. The first was to obtain the help of Great Emperor Shinkong, who would personally open the inheritance for cultivators to comprehend. The second was to obtain the quota of the tomb guards and use the void token to open the inheritance. He wanted to choose the second option. The first option was impossible to achieve no matter how he thought about it. Normally, a 7th grade force would have 1 to 2 quota of tomb guards, an 8th grade force would have 3 to 4 quotas, a 9th grade force would have 6 to 8 quotas and a 10th grade force would have 12 quotas. As a 9th grade force, Luo family had the thought-breaking realm as their master. They had obtained 8 quotas in this tomb competition. Ning Fan had a deep conversation with Luo Xiao that day. Luo Xiao's words made Ning Fan's heart palpitate. Any guest elder of Luo family who possessed the identity of an Eastern Ocean cultivator and had successfully cultivated the first transformation of the war god would be qualified to compete for the quota of tomb guards of Luo family. Of course, the final ownership of the quota would require the consent of the clan master and the young lord of Luo family. This Luo Xian and I barely have any relationship. Of course, I won't become enemies with her for no reason. Besides, even though I have promised Li Xiao Xiao to buy a lava core for her, I only need to buy a high-grade lava core. I don't need to get involved in the competition for a supreme-grade lava core. This item is useless to me. It's not a wise move to fight with Luo Xian and the other tomb guards for a useless item. Ning Fan made up his mind. With the power of the teleportation formation, he arrived at the 3rd floor of the merchant pavilion. The 3rd floor was smaller than the 2nd floor. There was only one shop. Inside the shop, there were many rare and precious treasures. Most of them were items that true immortals needed. Only true immortals would occasionally visit the 3rd floor. There was only a young boy at the counter who was in charge of receiving customers. This young boy had a void fragmentation realm cultivation base. His expression was relaxed and he was calculating his abacus randomly. When he saw Ning Fan stepping into the shop, his eyes flickered. When he sensed Ning Fan's mid-ghost profound realm chi, he shook his head and muttered. Why is a ghost profound realm cultivator also here on the 3rd floor? Although he was muttering, he still asked politely when he saw Ning Fan approaching. May I know what senior is looking for? Ning Fan's eyes scanned through the treasures in the shop calmly. This merchant pavilion was built on a high-grade cultivation planet. Although there were many heavenly materials and earthly treasures in the pavilion, none of them could move his heart. After a while, he answered. I want a high-grade lava core. 2 taels will do. WH. What? Senior actually wants to buy a high-grade lava core. The young boy's expression immediately changed. A high-grade lava core was a precious item. In this place, 1 tael of it could be sold for 4 billion Tao crystals. Even many true immortals could not afford such a precious item. Immediately, the young boy realized that he had misjudged Ning Fan. This white-robed senior in front of him might not have reached the standard to enter the 3rd floor, but he was quite wealthy. The young boy pondered for a while. Then, he suddenly thought of something and asked Ning Fan again. Senior, are you sure you want 2 taels of high-grade lava core? Are you not here for those 2 taels of supreme-grade lava core? No. I only want a high-grade lava core. If that's the case, Senior can directly enter the storeroom on the 4th floor of the merchant pavilion. The great shopkeeper of my pavilion is there. All transactions that are above 1 billion Tao crystals need to be personally presided over by the great shopkeeper. Senior can directly purchase this item from him. However, there's one thing that Senior must pay attention to. Outside the storeroom on the 4th floor, a few seniors who are fighting over the supreme grade lava core are currently fighting each other. Senior, you must be careful and don't get involved in this trouble. As soon as he finished speaking, the young boy took out a formation token and struck it with a hand seal. Immediately, a teleportation formation surrounded by golden light appeared in the shop. It led directly to the storeroom on the 4th floor of the merchant pavilion. After doing all that, the young boy took out a sound transmission token. Through it, he seemed to be communicating with someone. After a while, he respectfully said to Ning Fan. This junior has already informed the great shopkeeper of Senior's purpose of coming here. Senior, please head to the storeroom on the 4th floor now. The storeroom on the 4th floor, huh? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. As far as he knew, the first 3 floors of the merchant pavilion were usually open to customers. The 4th floor was the storeroom, which was rarely open to customers. Was it because there were people fighting on the 4th floor, causing the great shopkeeper of the merchant pavilion to be occupied and thus giving him the opportunity to enter the 4th floor of the merchant pavilion? Without saying anything else, Ning Fan stepped into the teleportation formation. As the formation light changed, he appeared on the 4th floor of the merchant pavilion. The 4th floor of the merchant pavilion was a boundless void. 2 huge islands were floating in the void. On one of the islands, the storeroom of the merchant pavilion was built. Outside the door of the storeroom, there was an old man in hemp robes who was sitting on a golden yuan bow. He was sighing while looking at the other island. On the other island, there was a battle stage. At this moment, 2 cultivators from the Duzhen sect were fighting with all their might on the stage. There were more than 10 people watching them from the side. With the power of the formation, Ning Fan teleported to the island where the storeroom was located. The moment Ning Fan appeared, the cultivators around the battle stage swept their spirit sense towards him. However, after realizing that Ning Fan was just an intermediate ghost profound realm expert, none of them paid any attention to him. Only Luo Xian, who was dressed in purple, frowned. She glanced at Ning Fan for a while longer, but soon, she no longer paid attention to him. Hee. You are the fellow Daoist who wants to buy a high-grade lava core. The timing of your arrival is a little unfortunate. I'm afraid you won't be able to buy a high-grade lava core. I can only sell you 1 or 2 low-grade lava cores at most. The old man in linen robes who was sitting on the golden ingot said to Ning Fan with a bitter smile. His name was Shang Long. He was the great shopkeeper of the Heavenly Eye Star Merchant Pavilion. His cultivation base was at the late True Crossing realm. You can't buy it? What do you mean? Ning Fan's gaze swept across the battle stage and shifted to Shang Long with a slight frown. If fellow Daoist came 2 hours earlier, it wouldn't be difficult for me to buy 1 or 2 high-grade lava cores. But now... Sigh, Shanglong raised his finger and pointed at the battle stage and said, "Among the two people who are fighting on the battle stage, the white-haired young man has already bought all the mid-grade and high-grade lava cores of our pavilion 2 hours ago. Moreover, he is still fighting for the supreme grade lava core. Since I haven't informed my subordinates about this, no one has informed fellow Daoists that the lava cores have already been sold out. There are only 1 or 2 low-grade lava cores left. That person didn't buy them out of disdain. I can only sell 1 or 2 low-grade lava cores to fellow Daoist. If fellow Daoist wants them, you can make a deal with me now. 1 or 2 low-grade lava cores will cost you 500 million Dao crystals." As soon as he finished speaking, the old man's gaze was once again attracted by the battle stage and he muttered to himself, "Who exactly is this white-haired young man? Since he dares to fight for the supreme grade lava core with so many tomb guardians, he must be strong and courageous. He shouldn't be someone from the Eastern Ocean Star region. In fact, he might not even be a cultivator who frequents the Eastern Heaven. His appearance gives me a familiar feeling. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before but I can't put my finger on it." Ning Fan's frown deepened. He had never expected that he couldn't even buy 1 or 2 high-grade lava cores after coming to the 4th floor. Without looking at the battle stage, Ning Fan said indifferently to Shanglong, "I don't want the low-grade lava core. Farewell." As soon as he finished speaking, he wanted to leave through the teleportation formation. Since he could not buy what he needed, Ning Fan did not insist on it. He did not have the intention to get involved in the trouble here. If he could not buy it here, he could just go to the merchant pavilions of other cultivation planets to buy it. When Shanglong saw that Ning Fan did not want the low-grade lava core, he sighed softly but did not say anything. He just smiled apologetically. Just as Ning Fan was about to leave, something unexpected happened on the battle stage. On the battle stage, 2 people were fighting. One of them was a white-haired young man whose cultivation base was close to the mid-true crossing realm. The other person looked like a zombie. His body was enshrouded in devil chi. He was dressed in black monk robes and was at the early true crossing realm. However, his cultivation base was slightly weaker than the white-haired young man. The white-haired young man and the zombie-like man had been fighting for a long time and it was difficult to determine the winner. All of a sudden, the white-haired young man displayed an extremely strange technique. He pulled out his spine from his body and used it as a long white bone whip, lashing at the zombie-like man. As soon as the whip landed, all the bones in the zombie-like man's body were broken. Then, his entire physical body collapsed. With a loud bang, he exploded into countless pieces of flesh and blood. Only his primordial spirit was lucky enough to survive. Obviously, the white-haired young man had shown mercy. "Qin Hong, you are not a match for me. If it's your elder brother, it might be worth watching." The white-haired young man's expression was cold and disdainful. "It's him. He's the Bone Immortal Monarch who was ranked 9th in the previous tomb competition, Jun Changdong. Rumor has it that if it wasn't because he was ambushed by someone in the previous tomb competition, he would have a high chance of getting into the top 3. Below the battle stage, as soon as they saw the white-haired young man's technique and heard his words, a few cultivators immediately exclaimed in surprise. They had recognized the white-haired young man's identity. "He's not Jun Changdong's true body. I'm afraid he's another bone clone that Jun Changdong has recently cultivated. No wonder his appearance is so unfamiliar." The manager of the merchant pavilion, Shanglong, said with a solemn expression. Even with his late true crossing realm cultivation base, he still felt a little fearful when he talked about Jun Changdong. As for the zombie-like man's primordial spirit, after his flesh was destroyed by the white-haired young man's bone whip, he immediately revealed a look of shock and anger after recognizing the white-haired young man's identity. "Jun Changdong. It's you again. How dare you destroy my physical body? My elder brother will certainly not let you go." As soon as he finished speaking, the zombie-like man's eyes swept across the entire battle stage ferociously. Then, he shifted his gaze to Shanglong and Ning Fan. When he saw Ning Fan, his eyes suddenly lit up. "Junior, lend me your physical body for a battle. After this, I will definitely reward you with tens of millions of Dao crystals as thanks. As soon as he finished speaking, the zombie-like man's primordial spirit suddenly turned into specks of black light and disappeared. All of a sudden, a second shadow strangely appeared beside the shadow under Ning Fan's feet. Then, he suddenly felt like he had lost control of his body. As for the second shadow, a ghost face suddenly appeared and spoke to Ning Fan in an arrogant tone. Junior, don't be afraid. I won't do anything to your physical body and I won't even possess it. Just be obedient and let me control your physical body for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. After that, you will be rewarded with plenty of benefits. It's not impossible for me to teach you one or two types of abilities. Qin Hong's words were arrogant. Of course, he had the right to be arrogant. He was the tomb keeper of the Shadow Binding sect, an 8th grade sect in Eastern Country. He was a dignified early True Crossing Realm true immortal expert. In his eyes, Ning Fan was just a junior in the Ghost Profound Realm. He thought that he was already being very polite to a junior. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. While he was surprised by this man's strange ability, he also saw through the secret of this ability. With his eyesight after attaining the unity of heaven and man state, he could tell that Qin Hong's ability was to seize control of someone else's physical body by controlling their shadow. This Qin Hong was only at the early True Crossing realm. He was not strong enough that Ning Fan could not resist him. Ning Fan had never seen this kind of shadow-controlling ability before. That was why he was affected by Qin Hong's shadow-controlling technique. It was not difficult to break this technique. As for the possibility of being possessed by Qin Hong, it was completely zero. Ning Fan did not waste any time talking to Qin Hong. He just shook his magic power and instantly regained control of his body. Then, he lifted his foot and stomped on the ground. The devil flames immediately spread under his feet and burned the second shadow on the ground. If there were ancient monsters here, they would be able to see that the place where Ning Fan stepped on was exactly where the law of the shadow-controlling technique was. The shadow-controlling technique is broken. How is this possible? This young man is just a Ghost Profound Realm expert. Qin Hong's expression changed. Without saying a word, he dispelled the shadow-controlling technique and dispersed Ning Fan's second shadow to avoid the attack of the devil flames. His primordial spirit flashed and reappeared on the battle stage. He stared at Ning Fan with astonishment from a great distance away. The cultivators below the battle stage also looked at Ning Fan. Each of them had different degrees of emotion on their faces. A Ghost Profound Realm cultivator can actually break the Shadow Binding sect's shadow-controlling technique. What is this young man's background? They could not help but feel shocked. The shadow-controlling technique of the Shadow Binding sect was especially difficult to deal with. It was quite famous in Dongming country. Given Qin Hong's early True Crossing Realm cultivation base, perhaps only a few early True Crossing Realm cultivators could escape from this technique. However, Ning Fan, who was just a Ghost Profound Realm cultivator, was able to break Qin Hong's technique with ease. How could they not be surprised? Luo Xian's beautiful eyes sparkled. She studied Ning Fan again. However, this time, there was no arrogance in her eyes. Instead, there was a hint of inquisitiveness. Shang Long, the great shopkeeper of the merchant pavilion, also had a serious expression on his face. He could not see the rules or the mysteriousness of Ning Fan's step. However, he could vaguely tell that Ning Fan's step was extremely extraordinary. That kind of extraordinariness was beyond his understanding. Ning Fan's eyes turned slightly cold and he glanced at Qin Hong. He did not like to be plotted against by others. This Qin Hong acted arbitrarily and used the shadow-controlling technique on him, which violated his taboo. If it wasn't because Qin Hong did not have any evil intention of seizing his body and was just eager to use his physical body to fight, he would certainly not let him go so easily. You have a good technique. I heard that you are here for the lava core. The white-haired young man suddenly spoke in Ning Fan's direction. So what if I am? Ning Fan frowned and looked at the white-haired young man. He could see the interest in the young man's eyes. Take it. The white-haired young man suddenly threw out 3 jade boxes. The 3 jade boxes turned into 3 rays of sharp white light and flew towards Ning Fan like rainbows. The seals of the 3 jade boxes had already been removed. The chi they emitted was mid-grade lava core, high-grade lava core and supreme-grade lava core. Among them, the mid-grade lava core and high-grade lava core were bought by him previously. As for the supreme-grade lava core, he stole it from the great shopkeeper of the merchant pavilion without anyone knowing. Supreme-grade lava core. How could it be in Jun Changdong's hands? All the cultivators present were shocked. When did he steal it? Shang Long was the most shocked. When he scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense, his expression immediately turned ugly. He was a late True Crossing Realm cultivator and the great shopkeeper of the merchant pavilion. How could he let someone steal his treasure without him noticing? The 3 jade boxes flew towards Ning Fan at high speed. When they were about to reach him, all of a sudden, the 3 jade boxes shone with bright white light that resembled lightning. The power of the lightning was quite terrifying. Even a mid-True Crossing Realm cultivator might not be able to block the lightning attack and catch the jade boxes steadily at the same time. One had to either break the lightning or avoid it. In any case, it would be extremely difficult to receive the lightning. If you can withstand my bone lightning technique, they will belong to you. If you can't, you'd better avoid it as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll either die or be severely injured. The white-haired young man's voice suddenly entered Ning Fan's ears. It carried a hint of teasing. Ning Fan's eyes turned serious. His mind raced but he did not retreat. Instead, he advanced. Teasing, huh? Fine. I'll keep these items. At this moment, his gaze seemed to be able to see through the Tao law of the lightning in the jade boxes. At this moment, the Tai Su lightning star on his glabella was secretly activated. Without using any ability, he directly flicked his sleeve and reached out his hand to grab the 3 jade boxes at lightning speed. As the descendant of the Tai Su lightning emperor, why would he be afraid of this mere bone lightning? Catching lightning with bare hands. The white-haired young man's eyes were filled with shock. When he looked at Ning Fan again, his expression was a little more solemn. The 3 jade boxes steadily fell into Ning Fan's hands. The bone lightning that made a sizzling sound could not hurt Ning Fan at all. Farewell. Ning Fan waved his hand and wiped away the lightning in the 3 jade boxes. He kept the jade boxes and gave the white-haired young man a deep look. Then, he turned around and stepped into the teleportation formation to return to the 3rd floor. Because of the golden light, his magic power had been severely depleted. Until now, he had only recovered a little of it. After attacking twice, he had already used up the magic power that he had recovered. There was no point for him to stay any longer. If this person participates in the tomb competition, he will certainly be a formidable opponent. The white-haired young man's eyes were suddenly ignited with the flames of war. Among all the tomb guardians in the tomb competition, there were no more than 5 people who could make him show such an expression. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful mysterious ghost realm expert in this world. I wonder who is stronger between this person and the person that Luo Xiao mentioned. Luo Xian, the young lord of Luo clan, was shocked. She only regained her senses after a long time. When she regained her senses, Ning Fan had already left the place. If she was not absent-minded, she would probably have the chance to recruit Ning Fan and make him a guest elder of Luo clan. I've missed an opportunity. Forget it. The person that Luo Xiao mentioned might not be inferior to this person. Luo Xian comforted herself. Outside the merchant pavilion, Li Xiaoxiao was holding 3 jade boxes and a storage pouch of 10 billion Dao crystals in her hands. She was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped to the ground. 11 tails of mid-grade lava core, 7 tails of high-grade lava core and 1 tail of supreme-grade lava core. So many. How can there be so many? Most importantly, you didn't even spend a single Dao crystal after buying so many things? This is impossible. I don't believe it. I won't believe it even if you beat me to death. Could it be that you, Li Xiaoxiao suddenly stretched out her slender finger and pointed at Ning Fan's nose. Her face was flushed. With her intelligence, she could only think of one possibility: Ning Fan was lying. She did not believe that Ning Fan did not spend a single cent to buy so many things. The total value of these things was probably close to 100 billion Dao crystals. The only possibility that she could think of was that Ning Fan spent 100 billion Dao crystals to buy all the lava cores in order to please her. However, he lied and said that he did not spend any money just to make her feel at ease and use them with a clear conscience. In order to help me repair the heaven-devouring avatar, he didn't hesitate to spend 100 billion Dao crystals to buy so many lava cores. In order to not let me use them with a clear conscience, he lied and said that these lava cores were taken for free and he didn't spend any money. Why does he have to treat me so well? I used to send tribulation to him every day in the past. Could it be that he really likes me? Besides, isn't he a little too rich? Those are lava cores that are worth 100 billion Dao crystals. He doesn't even feel heartache when he gives them to me. He is simply a Casanova. At this moment, the little girl's mind was in a mess. Her face turned red all the way to her ears. In the past, she used to talk about Ning Fan's bad deeds day and night. Now, all of them became good. When she thought of how she oppressed Ning Fan in the past and how she sent tribulation after tribulation, Li Xiaoxiao felt extremely regretful and blamed herself. You don't look well. Can you accompany me to the Divine Weapon Lake in this state? Ning Fan looked at Li Xiaoxiao with a strange expression. Yes. Brother Casanova, I will bring you to the Divine Weapon Lake right now. I guarantee that I will complete the mission. As soon as Li Xiaoxiao finished making a solemn vow, she immediately shook her body and turned into a half-black half-white winged demon, signaling Ning Fan to ride on her. Ning Fan, on the other hand, stood on the same spot with a face full of black lines. Since when did he become a Casanova? What kind of nickname is this? He could get any kind of nickname in his life, but this one was basically not fated with him. He also felt ashamed to receive it. What kind of Casanova was he? What kind of strange thoughts was going through Li Xiaoxiao's mind? Weirdo. Ning Fan once again commented on Li Xiaoxiao in his heart. Chapter 807. The Divine Armament Lake was not just one lake, but thousands of spirit lakes. Every few hundred miles in the Heavenai mountain range, there would be a spiritual lake like this in the mountains. When these spirit lakes were formed, they had the strange effect of repairing magic treasures and puppets. They were famous in Eastern Sky. Due to the existence of the Divine Armament Lake, Tianmu planet was often referred to as the Star of 1,000 Lakes. In the sky above the Heavenai mountain range, there were cultivators coming and going from time to time. Most of them were here to repair their magic treasures. There were also some old monsters who cultivated here for many years in an attempt to see through the mysteries of the Divine Armament Lake, repairing divine armaments and use it to comprehend the Great Tao. Most of the cultivators who came here to repair their Dharma treasures would find their own spirit lake and mind their own business. They would not disturb each other. Between the lake and the mountain, there would occasionally be old monsters Shikong and Thoughts Shatterer who would come here to repair their Dharma treasures. Ning Fan sat on the back of the winged demon and flew all the way to the periphery of the Heavenai mountain range. At this place, Li Xiaoxiao took the initiative to part ways with Ning Fan. Along the way, Ning Fan tried to find out the reason for the Fu Li Qi on Li Xiaoxiao's body. Who would have thought that although this little girl was a bit muddle-headed, her mouth was very tight. No matter how he tried to probe her, he just could not find out what exactly was the relationship between this little girl and the Fu Li clan. In the end, Li Xiaoxiao even vaguely sensed the intention of probing in Ning Fan's words. Brother Casanova, what exactly do you want to ask me? Don't beat around the bush, just ask me directly. I will definitely tell you the truth. The eyes of the winged demon were filled with respect and obedience. It was as if she would answer all of Ning Fan's questions. Very well. Let me ask you, what kind of power was the purplish black light that sent me flying? Do you know about it? Ning Fan asked seriously. What? What purplish black light? Why didn't I know? Hee, ha, Brother Casanova, you must have seen wrongly. As soon as Li Xiaoxiao heard Ning Fan's question, which vaguely involved the Fu Li power in her body, she immediately lost her composure. She seemed to have become extremely nervous. Even Ning Fan, who was sitting on her back, could vaguely sense her emotions. Moreover, as soon as they arrived at the outer area of the Heavenly Eye Mountain, Li Xiaoxiao immediately transformed into her human form. Her face was filled with guilt as if she was a thief. She bade farewell to Ning Fan as if she was fleeing. That. Brother Casanova, we have arrived at the Divine Armament Lake. You should find a spirit lake to repair your Dharma treasure. I also want to find a spirit lake to repair my Dharma treasure. Thank you for giving me the lava core. I will cherish it. I'm very touched and guilty at the same time. Today's weather is very good as well. The wind is bright and the sun is bright, just like my complicated feelings at the moment. Oh right, I'm not feeling guilty or nervous. I'm not afraid to answer your question even though Her Majesty has given me a gag order. In short. Actually. Alright, I'm in a hurry. I'll make a move first. Li Xiaoxiao rubbed her head dejectedly. The more she tried to hide the nervousness in her heart, the more nervous she became. She rambled on incoherently, but still couldn't express her thoughts. In order to hide his identity, he had vaguely leaked some information. In the end, he decisively borrowed a escape technique and escaped without a trace. Looking at Li Xiaoxiao's fleeing back, Ning Fan smiled faintly and shook his head with a sigh. Little liar. Didn't you say that you would answer all my questions? Why did you avoid answering me and run away? Although she's a liar, she's also a stupid liar. She doesn't even know how to lie. How could a dignified Duzhen cultivator be in a hurry? Isn't this excuse a little too far-fetched? However, I've finally confirmed one thing. She's closely related to my Fu Li clan. She herself knows about this matter. Also, from what she said, it can be inferred that her master, Tribulation Immortal Emperor, also knows about her relationship with the Fu Li clan. Furthermore, he has given her a gag order, not allowing her to reveal this matter to anyone. The only thing I can't confirm is the attitude of Li Xiaoxiao and her master towards the Fu Li clan. Are they enemies or strangers? This is also the reason why I don't want to expose the ancestral blood of the Fu Li clan in front of Li Xiaoxiao. The Fu Li clan. This demon blood had once helped me to defile my luck and get rid of a great scheme. However, until now, I still don't know much about the Fu Li clan. Ning Fan raised his head and looked at the sky. His eyes were filled with nostalgia. After a while, he put away all of his emotions. With a sway of his body, he immediately turned into a ray of light and flew towards the inner area of the Heaven Eye mountain range. It was also a good thing that Li Xiaoxiao was parting with him here. The matter of Ning Fan repairing the ancient devil puppet was also considered a big secret. Therefore, it was naturally the best that Li Xiaoxiao was not present. There were thousands of divine weapon lakes in the Heaven Eye mountain range. Although there were slight differences in their healing abilities, the difference was not huge. After searching for a while, Ning Fan landed on a spiritual lake that was located in a rather remote area. First, he checked the surroundings of the spiritual lake and the bottom of the lake. After making sure that there was nothing unusual about the place, he set up an isolation formation at the side of the lake. Then, he took out the severely damaged ancient devil puppet. With a flick of his finger, he made the tiny puppet float above the surface of the lake. Then, it slowly submerged into the lake. As for himself, he sat cross-legged at the lakeside of the divine weapon lake. His eyes flashed with green light from time to time as he carefully observed the surface of the lake. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the bottom of the lake. In his eyes, the surface of the divine weapon lake was intertwined with an indescribable and mysterious law. It was exactly this law that urged all the divine weapons and magic treasures that were submerged into the lake to repair themselves. Under the nourishment of the water of the divine weapon lake, the damage of the ancient devil puppet was slowly recovering on its own. What a mysterious spiritual lake. Unfortunately, I can't take it away. Ning Fan sighed with emotion. He reached out his hand and scooped up a handful of lake water to carefully examine it. Once the lake water leaves the spiritual lake itself, it would immediately lose all of its healing power. Even if the spiritual lake itself is taken away, it would only destroy this healing power. The spiritual lake that is taken away would definitely be useless. The true healing power did not come from the lake water. Instead, it came from the law of the Tao of this place. The lake water could be taken away, but no one could take away the law of the Tao of this place. Not even an immortal emperor could do so. He no longer looked at the lake water. Instead, he flipped his hand and took out a pile of jade slips. He randomly picked one of them and studied it carefully. After reading the first one, he looked at the second one. When he finished reading the entire pile of jade slips, Ning Fan revealed a thoughtful expression. All of these jade slips recorded all kinds of information about the unity of heaven and man realm. It was only until he bought these information that he found out that one of the 3 giant doors that he unintentionally opened that day was actually the first door of the heavenly being realm. The unity of heaven and man was a state where one's Tao and Tao were united. Theoretically, any cultivator would have the chance to enter this state. For example, Ning Fan had accidentally entered the state of the unity of heaven and man several times in the past. Under such circumstances, the state of the unity of heaven and man could not last forever. It could only bring temporary benefits to the cultivator. However, if the 3 doors of the heavenly being realm were opened, the state of the unity of heaven and man would never disappear. There was no specific method to open the 3 doors of the heavenly being realm. Cultivators that had successfully opened the door of heaven usually only had one thing in common, and that was that these cultivators had extremely high comprehension towards Tao arts. Moreover, they had cultivated all along the way to ceaselessly temper their own comprehension of the Tao. Therefore, there was only one way to open the door of the heavenly being realm. In short, it was to constantly improve one's Tao comprehension, temper one's Tao heart and sharpen one's Tao sense. When the time is right, the door of the heavenly being realm would naturally open. The first door of the heavenly being realm is called the Gate of Tao Law. Once this door is opened, one can see the Tao Law and at the same time, greatly improve one's comprehension. The second door of the heavenly being realm is called the Gate of Tao Heart. Once this door is opened, one can have a clear Tao heart and see through all illusions and truths. One will not be confused by the illusory techniques of the heavens. With just a wave of one's hand, one can also deduce the myriad of techniques in the heavens and create their own profound techniques and divine abilities. The third door of the heavenly being realm is called the Gate of Tao Life. Once this door is opened, one can break away from the shackles of heaven's will and see the past and the future. Within the 4 heavens and 9 worlds, there are very few people who can open the first door. I wonder if there are still people who can open the second door. As for those who can open the third door, none. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and kept all the jade slips of information. Green light flickered in and out of his eyes. The current him was no longer completely ignorant about the unity of heaven and man. He already knew that the giant door that he pushed open the other day was the first door of the heavenly being realm, the Gate of Tao Law. He stood up and looked at the sea of clouds that stretched 10,000 li in the vast sky. His gaze seemed to be able to see through all Tao laws. After an unknown period of time, Ning Fan suddenly displayed the power of his 5-colored medicine soul and turned it into a cauldron. Then, he began to concoct pills by the side of the spiritual lake. The first pill he concocted was the life illusion pill. It only took him the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to concoct this pill. The life illusion pill was just a 4th revolution pill. Thus, it was naturally not difficult to concoct it. At the moment the pill was formed, Ning Fan directly waved his hand to disperse the pill tribulation and the strange phenomenon. With his current cultivation base, it was a piece of cake for him to do so. Looking at the life illusion pill in his palm that seemed both real and illusory, Ning Fan remained silent for a while. Then, he suddenly swallowed the pill into his stomach. Even though he had swallowed the pill, he did not refine its medicinal power. Instead, he placed the pill in his dantian where his primordial spirit was and let his primordial spirit hold the pill with its tiny hand. After doing all of this, Ning Fan finally revealed a satisfied smile. With his current eyesight, he could naturally see that the surface of the life illusion pill contained a terrifying power of Tao law. That was the Tao law of illusion. It was the source of all illusory techniques in the world. A true illusory technique could deceive everything in this world. The grade of this life illusion pill isn't high. However, it was concocted using the devil dust of illusion. The Tao law of illusion is contained within the pill, giving it great abilities. According to the ancient records, in ancient times, there was once a void fragmentation realm young man who was being hunted by an ancient cultivator. At the critical moment, he consumed the life illusion pill and 3 clusters of illusory flames appeared in his body. With that, he managed to stay alive and escape death. At that time, all the witnesses saw with their own eyes that the young man was struck by the ancient monster's divine ability and his primordial spirit was completely destroyed. Everyone believed that the young man was dead. That ancient monster also believed that he had killed the young man. Even the heavenly Tao had determined that the young man was dead. Even the life token that the young man kept in the sect had shattered on its own, proving that the young man was dead. However, all of this was just an illusory technique that could deceive the heavenly Tao. Only the young man knew that he was still alive in this world. I don't know if the medicinal power of the life illusion pill is as powerful as what the ancient records say. However, if there comes a day when my life is in danger, perhaps I can use the power of this pill to save my life. After a short rest, Ning Fan opened the cauldron to concoct the pill again. This time, he was concocting the yang pill. The concoction process lasted for 10 days. This time, Ning Fan did not concoct the pill in the profound Yin world. However, he only spent 10 days to concoct a cauldron of low-grade 7th revolution pills. All of this was because Ning Fan had achieved the unity of heaven and man state. His pill concoction process was almost perfect. Thus, his speed was naturally fast and the quality of the pills was also extremely high. There were a total of 10 yang pills in this cauldron. This was Ning Fan's first time concocting this pill and he could already concoct 10 pills at the same time. After concocting the yang pill, Ning Fan kept the medicine soul cauldron and began to use the power of the yang pill to refine the 25 red essence stones in his hand. These red essence stones were obtained from the flowing sand star region. Each of them contained an immense amount of true yang power. After refining all of the red essence stones, Ning Fan took out the fragment of the 10th Yin fusion pearl and began to refine it. The refinement process lasted for 3 years. All of the true yang power flowed into Ning Fan's body. Under the activation of the yin-yang locket, traces of yang turned into yin and yin turned into yang. They circulated ceaselessly and evolved into the power of time. After 3 years, 99% of the ancient devil puppets in the divine weapon lake had already been repaired. Even the last bit of damage was almost completely repaired. During the past 3 years, Ning Fan had always been sitting cross-legged at the lakeside of the divine weapon lake. He had experienced the changes of spring and autumn 3 times. The spring breeze blew and the trees on the mountain were lush and green. As the autumn wind blew, the fallen leaves on the lake swayed. During every late autumn, the divine weapon lake where Ning Fan was at would be 100 times heavier than the other spiritual lakes. During the first autumn, all the fallen leaves that fell on Ning Fan's body would turn into ashes and dissipate. During the second autumn, all the fallen leaves would strangely avoid Ning Fan. Not a single leaf would touch his body. At the end of autumn, there were piles of fallen leaves on the lakeside. However, there was not a single leaf within 3 zhang of the spot where Ning Fan was sitting. During the third autumn, the fallen leaves would fall on Ning Fan's body and there would no longer be any changes. At the end of autumn of this year, Ning Fan opened his eyes. He suddenly rose to his feet. With just a thought, all the autumn wind in the world seemed to be under his control. In an instant, it swept across the entire Heavenai mountain range. As for the fallen leaves on the lakeside of the thousands of spiritual lakes in the Heavenai mountain range, they turned into ashes and dissipated. Tao Sense Technique. Which senior Swain Yen is using this technique here? In the Heaven Eye mountain range, 3 Shikong realm old monsters were immediately shocked. They spread out their spirit sense, trying to find the person who used this technique. However, they could not find any trace of that person at all. Finally, there are no longer any traces of chisels or knives. This west wind technique can only be considered to be completed at this moment. With this technique, even though I'm just a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator, I can severely injure a mid-true crossing realm cultivator with a single finger. However, this west wind technique consumes a lot of my magic power. I shouldn't use it unless I have no other choice. I should keep it as my trump card. Ning Fan retracted his Dao sense and looked at the spiritual lake beneath his feet. When he realized that the ancient devil puppet was about to be completely repaired, he nodded his head in satisfaction. After staying at this place for another 7 days, Ning Fan kept the fully repaired ancient devil puppet and left the Heaven Eye Star range. Before he left, Li Xiaoxiao had already left. In the starry sky of the eastern sea star region, the figure of a young man in white robes could be seen from time to time. After leaving the Heaven Eye Star region, Ning Fan headed straight to the Heavenly Sea Star where the Luo clan was located. Along the way, he kept using the Black Devil escape, but he no longer felt his blood boiling. He also did not display the great technique of the piercing golden light. The coincidence of that day can't happen again. Ning Fan sighed with emotion. He could not help but temporarily put aside the thought of cultivating the piercing golden light and flew towards the Heavenly Sea Star with all his might. However, when he no longer deliberately pursued the piercing golden light, the feeling of his blood boiling appeared again. In this world, the more you pursue it, the more you can't get it. Sometimes, you can achieve miraculous results unintentionally. When the divine blood, demon blood and devil blood boiled again, traces of golden flames appeared on the surface of Ning Fan's body. Ning Fan had a premonition that if the golden flames were to become slightly stronger, he would be able to use the piercing golden light technique again and travel across an entire high-grade star region with a single step. He tried to make the golden flames on the surface of his body burn more fiercely. However, he realized that he could not control the golden flames at all with his current cultivation base. Gradually, the boiling of the 3 types of blood in his body had exceeded the limit that he could bear. His eyes gradually turned blood red. His consciousness gradually became chaotic. He was showing signs of qi deviation. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan waved his hand and touched his face, summoning the silver ghost mask. His ink-black hair turned silver in an instant. At the moment when he summoned the ghost mask, all the chaotic emotions in his eyes disappeared, turning into coldness and ruthlessness like the ice of the netherworld. Oh! After summoning the ghost mask, the golden flames on the surface of my body don't seem to be hard to control anymore. Ning Fan raised his palm and looked at the flickering golden flames on his palm thoughtfully. The golden flames seemed to have intelligence. They were afraid of the ferocious qi of the innate ghost mask. Thus, they became slightly more obedient. Blaze! Ning Fan suddenly shouted. The golden flames on the surface of his body instantly grew brighter and shot out tens of thousands of golden rays. His magic power was being consumed rapidly. Suddenly, a golden ripple that looked like water appeared under his feet. It trembled slightly and disappeared in a flash. At this moment, he once again unleashed the piercing golden light. The first time he displayed it was a coincidence. This time, he displayed it with his own ability. This was the first time he displayed the piercing golden light using his own Dao comprehension of escape technique, the suppression of the ghost mask and the piercing golden light incantation of the 8 words that Li Xiaoxiao gave him. A ray of golden light with a majestic aura suddenly streaked across the starry sky of the eastern sea star region. Wherever it went, huge ravines would be torn open in the void and golden rays of light shot out from them. What kind of escape technique is this? Along the way, countless second-step-old monsters flew into the starry sky and looked at the dazzling golden light. None of them could see what was inside the golden light. Only an old monster, Shikong, happened to pass by Ning Fan. He could vaguely see a few strands of silver hair and a ferocious ghost mask. This cultivator with silver hair and ghost mask must be an ancient senior. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to display such a terrifying escape light. That old monster was convinced. After that, he returned to his cave residence and told his disciples about what he had seen and heard. Then, the news spread from 1 to 10 and from 10 to 100. Gradually, it spread throughout the eastern sea star region. There was an ancient senior with silver hair and a ghost mask who knew how to display a powerful golden escape light. But that was a story to be told later. At this moment, Ning Fan used the suppression of the ghost mask and displayed the piercing golden light once again. Like a golden meteor, he crashed into Heavenly Sea Star. The entire Heavenly Sea Star trembled slightly. At this moment, in the Luo clan of the Heavenly Sea, all the experts were holding a clan meeting in a secret hall of the clan. Other than the 9th elder Luo Shi, who had the highest cultivation base in the Luo clan, who was busy repairing the heaven-suppressing bell and was not in the clan, almost all the second step experts of the Luo clan were gathered in this secret hall. The life force of the Battle King's physical body is becoming weaker and weaker. If we can't find a cultivator who has cultivated to the 4th transformation and awaken the Battle King, I'm afraid he will die in less than 100 years. In the secret hall, a mid-Shidong Void Realm old man was talking to the crowd. Suddenly, his eyes widened and he flew out of the secret hall without saying anything. The rest of the experts were also shocked and they immediately flew out of the hall. All the experts of the Luo clan arrived at a barren mountain on the Heavenly Sea Star. Looking at the 10,000 Zhang crater in the middle of the barren mountain, their eyes were filled with astonishment. Has an ancient senior come to our Luo clan? Could it be that he harbors hostility by crashing into our Heavenly Sea Star so brazenly? If he really harbors hostility, why is there only this crater and no one else? Could it be that this person is here to harm the Battle King of our Luo clan? Many old monsters guessed. Only Luo Xian, the young lord of the Luo clan, moved her beautiful eyes as if she had thought of something. When I went to the Heavenly Eye Star that day, there was also an old monster who crashed into the Heavenly Eye Star with his escape light and left a 10,000 Zhang crater. Vaguely, there was still some chi of magic power left in the crater. It was familiar to Luo Xian but she couldn't recall where she had seen it. All of a sudden, Luo Xian saw a corner of a piece of white cloth in the crater. She retracted her escape light and descended into the crater to pick up the piece of cloth. Looking at the white cloth and sensing the familiar chi of this place, the figure of a white-robed young man suddenly emerged in her mind. No, it can't be him. Even though he's very powerful, he's just a profound ghost realm cultivator after all. Besides, the speed of this escape light is probably something that even some ancient senior monsters can't match. Which old monster could have left this escape light behind? Luo Xian pondered, but she still kept the white cloth into her storage pouch. If the person who came is an enemy of the Luo clan, this white cloth might become a powerful weapon to find the whereabouts of the enemy. In the profound Yin world, Ning Fan took off his tattered clothes and changed into a clean one. Then, he immediately consumed a pill that could restore his magic power and sat down cross-legged to meditate. This time, the golden light went out of control again. As expected, he had used up all of his magic power again after casting this technique. However, his expression was more delighted than surprised. Obviously, he was very satisfied with the golden light that he cast again. With my current cultivation base, I still can't cast the golden light. However, if I summon the ghost face, I can use it to suppress the golden flames and cast this technique. The speed of this technique is comparable to the speed of the ancient times. Chapter 808. In the end, the experts of the Luo clan left one after another. A few days later, a drizzle suddenly fell around the huge pit. The rain only lasted for a short while. Then, the sky became clear again. Light flashed in the pit and a person appeared. It was Ning Fan who had just come out from the profound Yin world. There was still some cyan rain intent flashing in his eyes. The rain he saw just now was the ability he used to observe the outside world in the profound Yin world. In the past, he could not use the rain technique to observe the outside world in the profound Yin world. However, now that he had opened the first door of the heavenly being realm, his comprehension of the heaven-peering rain technique had greatly improved. Even if he was separated by the barrier of the medium-sized world, he could still observe the outside world with the rain technique. Even though the golden light on the ground is too loud and eye-catching, it might be one of the shortcomings of this technique. However, the speed of this technique is fast enough to make up for any shortcomings. Even though I can use the ghost face to suppress the golden flames and use this technique, I can't use it as I please. I'm afraid I still need some time to cultivate this technique to prevent it from going out of control. Of course, I need to polish this technique carefully. However, the most important thing now is to go to the Luo clan and officially become their guest elder. Then, I will obtain the complete incantation of the first transformation of the war god transformation and cultivate it successfully. Only the guest elder who has cultivated the first transformation of the war god transformation is qualified to participate in the competition for the 8 tomb guardians of the Luo clan. If I have the identity of a tomb guardian, I can enter the divine tomb with the void token and obtain the other half of Great Emperor Wongu's inheritance. To me, cultivating the war god transformation and participating in the tomb competition are not as important as obtaining the other half of Great Emperor Wongu's inheritance. Ning Fan reached out his palm. With a thought, a jade locket that was as smooth as jade immediately appeared in his hand. This jade locket was the yin-yang locket that had accompanied him for a long time. It had once changed his destiny. In this eastern sea star region, the yin-yang locket gave off a faint light as if it was summoned by something. It was as if it was originally incomplete and lacked the other half to make up for it. It was as if the other half was in this eastern sea star region. The profound yin world can increase the cultivation speed of yin-yang transformation cultivators, but there is a flaw. Other than the master of the profound yin world, no other living beings can freely enter and exit this world. I used to think that the profound yin world has always been like this. However, after I opened the first gate of heaven and man and saw the laws of Tao, I could clearly see that the laws of the profound yin world are incomplete and incomplete. This is the real reason why living beings from the outside world can't appear in the profound yin world. Perhaps, after I obtain the other half of the inheritance of the ancient chaos great emperor, I might be able to complete this incomplete world law. Ning Fan was silent for a moment, then he opened his mouth and swallowed the yin-yang locket back into his body, storing it in his dantian. With a tap of his foot, he soared into the sky and turned into a rainbow, flying toward the broken halberd peak where the Luo family was located. From a distance, planet Heavenly Ocean looked like a blue planet. The only continent on the planet was not blue, but blood red. Continuous blood-colored mountains stood towering on that area, and the mountains were connected and precipitous. In this blood-colored mountain range, there were 3 blood-colored mountains which were the tallest. They were called the Broken Halberd Peak. It was said that the entire blood-colored mountain range where the Broken Halberd Peak was located was actually transformed from a Broken Halberd magic treasure. That was a legend that had existed for a long time. At that time, the 4 heavens and 9 worlds had just separated from each other. The first realm war between the cultivators of the 4 heavens and the land of demon spirits had just begun. In that war between the 2 worlds, the ancestor of the divine void realm wielded a long halberd and killed several demon sovereigns at the same level as him. As for the long halberd, it was also destroyed in that war. The ancestor of the divine void realm brought it back to the eastern heaven and left it in the heavenly ocean star, turning it into the Broken Halberd Peak. Countless years had passed since the day the ancestor of the divine void realm left the divine weapon. The Broken Halberd Peak was still filled with murderous battle intent and its Tao rhyme never dissipated. The Luo family was built at the foot of the Broken Halberd Peak. Most of the cultivators in the family built their own cave dwellings in the blood-colored mountains, borrowing the battle intent of the Broken Halberd Peak to cultivate. When Ning Fan arrived at the Luo family, what he saw were 3 blood-colored mountains that pierced through the clouds. They were like the tip of a gigantic trident that pierced through the clouds. What he felt was the desolate battle intent that spread out from the Broken Halberd Peak. Is this the Broken Halberd Peak? The Tao laws of this place are so strong. These laws should be the rules of war, right? Ning Fan's eyes glowed with green light. He scanned the Broken Halberd Peak with his spirit sense. He could vaguely detect the cave dwellings of many cultivators on the peak. At the foot of the broken halberd peak was a massive cultivation city named Violet Silk City. It was the place where the Luo family resided. Usually, outsiders would not be allowed to enter this city easily. There was a group of cultivators of the Luo family patrolling outside the Violet Silk City. As soon as the patrolling cultivators saw Ning Fan arriving outside the Luo family's residence, they sensed his faint aura of the second step. Without any hesitation, they immediately welcomed him. There were a total of 6 cultivators in this group. All of them were at the Void Fragmentation realm. The leader of the group was an old man who wore battle armor and had 9 broken bones. The 6 of them landed beside Ning Fan at the same time. They cupped their fists and bowed respectfully. As for the old man with 9 broken bones, he forced a smile and took the initiative to ask. "Senior, may I know why you have come to Violet Silk City? Are you here to buy battle crystals? Or are you here to visit a friend?" Normally, outsiders who would come to Violet Silk City were either here to buy battle crystals or to look for a friend. Ning Fan had expected the old man to ask such a question. "I have come here for this matter." Ning Fan bent his palm and waved it. Immediately, a ball of scarlet flames appeared under his palm and slowly condensed into a jade slip of battle intent. This jade slip was given to him by Luo Xiao. It recorded part of the war god's secret art. This jade slip was a test as well as a keepsake. "This is a jade slip of battle intent. May I know which senior of our clan has this jade slip of battle intent?" As soon as they saw the jade slip, they immediately knew that Ning Fan had come for the matter of becoming a foreign elder of the Luo family. Thus, they did not dare to show any neglect and asked him respectfully. "Luo Xiao," Ning Fan said indifferently. As soon as they heard the 2 words Luo Xiao, the expressions of the patrolling cultivators changed again. The way they looked at Ning Fan became even more respectful. As for the old man with 9 broken bones, he sent a message transmitting flying sword in the direction of Violet Silk City. He seemed to be reporting Ning Fan's arrival to the experts of his clan. After 10 breaths, a hearty laughter came from the direction of Violet Silk City. "Fellow Daoist Ning, you've finally come. In order to wait for your arrival, I have stayed in the Heavenly Sea Star for 3 whole years and did not go on any missions. I was afraid that I would miss our reunion." As soon as the laughter stopped, the figure of a scholar in black robes flashed and appeared in front of everyone. It was Luo Xiao. "Your subordinates greet Lord Commander." As soon as the patrolling cultivators saw Luo Xiao, they bowed to him one after another. Each of their expressions was extremely respectful. "You may dispense with the formalities. You may leave. This fellow Taoist was recommended by me. I will personally bring him to Violet Silk City. You don't need to follow him. You may continue to patrol this place." Luo Xiao gently waved his hand and dismissed the 6 patrolling cultivators. When he looked at Ning Fan again, his eyes widened in surprise. Then, he said with a meaningful smile. "After 3 years, fellow Taoist's chi seems to have become much stronger. During these 3 years, fellow Taoist's cultivation base has also improved a lot, hasn't it? I'm afraid you have already broken through the bottleneck of the late Ghost Profound Realm by 70%. You are already very close to breaking through completely." Ning Fan answered with a smile. "Oh. Fellow Taoist Ning really has a good eye. Even the old ancestors of the clan can't see my exact cultivation progress. However, fellow Taoist can actually tell that I have already broken through the bottleneck of 70% with just a glance." Luo Xiao's eyes flashed. He could not help but attach more importance to Ning Fan. After exchanging some pleasantries with Ning Fan, he led him into Violet Silk City. At the center of the city, there were a total of 5 palaces that shone with golden light. In each of the palaces, there was a member of the Luo clan who was cultivating in seclusion. These 5 members were the strongest members of the Luo clan other than the clan leader. Together with the clan leader, they were known as the 6 ancestors of the Luo clan, by the cultivators of the clan. Behind the 5 palaces, there was another palace that shone with purple light. It was the cultivation place of the clan leader of the Luo clan. The clan leader of the Luo clan, Luo Shi, was the 9th elder of the godly void pavilion. In order to repair the heaven-suppressing bell, he was busy day and night. Therefore, he was not in the clan. Currently, all the mundane affairs of the Luo clan had been temporarily handed over to the 6th ancestor, whose cultivation base was slightly lower among the 6 old ancestors of the clan. As for the remaining few ancestors, unless the clan holds an important meeting or something major happens in the clan, they would basically stay in seclusion for long periods of time. Currently, the clan leader of our clan is not in the clan. Fellow Daoist needs to get the approval of the 6th ancestor to become a foreign elder of our Luo clan. As for the foreign elder token of the Luo clan and the complete cultivation method of the first transformation of the war god art, they also need to be personally handed over to you by the 6th ancestor. The place we are going to now is the extreme cold palace where the 6th ancestor lives. Luo Xiao explained to Ning Fan while leading him to one of the 5 golden light palaces in the city. Along the way, many members of the Luo clan witnessed the scene of Luo Xiao and Ning Fan walking together. These members of the Luo clan did not know Ning Fan, but none of them did not know Luo Xiao. After seeing the direction in which Luo Xiao and Ning Fan were heading, many of them exclaimed inwardly. 3 years ago, Commander Luo Xiao had recommended a person to the 6th ancestor. He said that this person has the aptitude to cultivate the war god art, which can only be found once in 10,000 years. He is suitable to be a foreign elder of our clan. Could it be that the person the commander mentioned is that white-robed cultivator? Many experts of the Luo clan spread their spirit sense at the same time and scanned Ning Fan. Among these experts, there was no lack of life immortal realm cultivators and true immortal realm cultivators of the crossing truth realm. In their perception, other than having a mid-ghost profound realm cultivation base, Ning Fan could not see through anything else about him. Since they could not see through him, naturally, they could not find out what exactly was so special about Ning Fan that made Luo Xiao hold him in such high esteem. However, these experts of the Luo clan could still sense one thing: Ning Fan did not have any of the 5 types of battle intent physiques which were most suitable to cultivate the war god art. Isn't he the possessor of the battle intent physique? From the looks of it, Luo Xiao's claim that this person is a cultivator of the war god art that can only be found once in 10,000 years might just be an exaggeration. Many experts of the Luo clan retracted their spirit sense and thought to themselves. Ning Fan did not care about the probing of the experts of the Luo clan. With the strength of his ghost mask, unless he is willing to, no cultivator in this place would be able to see through him except for the chi of his cultivation base that he deliberately emitted. He followed Luo Xiao all the way to the extreme cold palace and stopped outside the palace. The outside of the extreme cold palace was filled with ancient formations that emitted dense cold chi. Even though they were separated by layers of formations, Ning Fan could still vaguely sense that there was an early shedding void realm chi inside the palace. It was faintly discernible, as if it existed or not. When they arrived at this place, Luo Xiao stopped and took out a sound-transmitting spiritual talisman. He said something to the talisman with an extremely respectful tone. A few breaths later, the formation light of the extreme cold palace suddenly made way for them. Then, an indifferent voice came from the extreme cold palace. Luo Xiao, stay outside the palace. Let the person you recommend come to see me alone. Yes. Luo Xiao cupped his fists at the direction of the extreme cold palace. Then, he said to Ning Fan, the 6th ancestor is inside the extreme cold palace. Fellow Daoist can enter by yourself and meet the 6th ancestor. Ning Fan answered indifferently. Then, he stepped into the extreme cold palace with a slightly vigilant heart. Until now, he still had not figured out whether the black-robed old man who tried to assassinate him that day was sent by the Luo clan or not. Thus, he naturally needed to be more vigilant against the Luo clan. The interior of the extreme cold palace was filled with a cold intent divine ability, causing the walls and the ceiling to be covered with ice. After passing through the long passage, what entered his sight was a world of ice that was filled with wind and snow. The extreme cold palace itself was a small Kiliacosm cosmos treasure. This world of ice was also the internal world of the extreme cold palace, the extreme cold world. In the sky of this world of ice, an old man in blue robes was sitting cross-legged. His eyes were tightly shut as if he was meditating. He was the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan, an early shedding void realm cultivator. Even after Ning Fan entered, the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan still did not open his eyes. You are the person that Luo Xiao recommended? You actually don't possess any of the 5 types of battle intent physiques. What a pity. I was really looking forward to your arrival. The tone of the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan carried a hint of disappointment. However, his cultivation base was profound after all. After a while, he regained his composure and continued. However, the fact that you could defeat Luo Xiao, who was in his second transformation state, with just your mid-ghost profound realm cultivation base is enough to prove that you're extraordinary. It's enough for you to be a foreign elder of my Luo clan. This is the foreign elder token and the first level of the war god art. Take it. As soon as he finished speaking, the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan suddenly flicked his sleeve. The wind and snow in this world suddenly condensed into a ball and condensed into a jade slip that was filled with cold chi. Then, he raised his hand and took out a red copper token. With a flick of his finger, he passed the token and the jade slip to Ning Fan. Ning Fan waved his hand and received the token and the jade slip that fell from the sky. After briefly scanning through them, his brows slightly furrowed, but he did not say anything. From the beginning to the end, the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan had never opened his eyes. It was enough to tell that he did not attach much importance to Ning Fan. After all, there were 5 types of battle intent physiques in this world which were suitable to cultivate the war god art. Ning Fan was not one of them. Most of the cultivators in the Luo clan thought that only those who possessed the battle intent physique could attain the 4th transformation of the war god and save the war king Luo Ho. Only Luo Xiao and a few cultivators of the Luo clan firmly believed that even those who did not possess the battle intent physique could attain the 4th transformation of the war god. They believed that the key to attaining the 4th transformation of the war god was the powerful combat strength and battle intent that could allow one to fight those with a higher cultivation base. Luo Xiao had already told Ning Fan about all of this. Ning Fan was naturally mentally prepared for the Luo clan's lack of attention. It was fine if the Luo clan did not attach any importance to him now. When he successfully cultivates the high-level cultivation method of the war god transformation, there would naturally be people who would attach importance to him. After seeing Ning Fan keep the jade slip, the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan nodded slightly and said, "Before you, there were already 122 foreign elders of the Luo clan. You are the 123rd. I believe Luo Xiao has already told you the reason why our Luo clan needs to recruit foreign elders to cultivate the war god transformation. I won't repeat it anymore. The foreign elders of the Luo clan can cultivate on their own outside the Heavenly Sea Star or on the 3 Broken Halberd Mountains. With the foreign elder token, you can enter and leave the Violet Silk City freely. According to your progress in cultivating the war god transformation, our Luo clan will provide you with a certain amount of battle crystals to aid your cultivation. If you need more battle crystals, you will have to buy them on your own. If you have successfully cultivated the first transformation of the battle art one day, you can come to me again to obtain the cultivation method of the second transformation. Unfortunately, you don't have the battle intent physique. The day when you successfully cultivate the first transformation of the battle art is still far away. If you have any more questions, you can go and ask your referral, Luo Xiao. Alright, you can leave now." As soon as he finished speaking, the sixth ancestor of the Luo clan stopped talking. His body gradually faded in the sky as if he had vanished into nothingness. Ning Fan no longer stayed in this place. He walked towards the outside of the extreme cold palace with his eyes changing unpredictably. This sixth ancestor of the Luo clan is cold and distant towards me. Even though he doesn't seem to attach any importance to me, he doesn't seem to have any hostility towards me either. In that case, the possibility of the black-robed old man who tried to assassinate me that day being a cultivator of the Luo clan isn't high. However, I wonder which force sent this person. outside the extreme frost palace, Luo Xiao had been waiting for a long time. When he saw Ning Fan coming out with the foreign elder token, he immediately cupped his fists and said with a smile. Congratulations on becoming the foreign elder of my Luo clan, fellow Taoist. I wonder how is the sixth ancestor's attitude towards you? Does he value you? Can I be given a life-saving jade scroll as a reward? Ning Fan smiled faintly and shook his head. Seeing this, Luo Xiao immediately showed a bitter expression and apologized. I'm sorry, Brother Ning. In my opinion, you're definitely a rare combat art prodigy that only appears once every 10,000 years. It's a pity that the others in the clan don't think so. Before Ning Fan, the Luo clan had recruited a total of 122 foreign elders. Among them, there were a few who possessed combat bodies. All of them were highly valued by the Luo clan and were given many opportunities. Ning Fan, whom Luo Xiao had placed high hopes on, did not receive such a high level of attention. This made Luo Xiao sigh with emotion. At the same time, he also felt a little guilty towards Ning Fan. After all, he was the one who recommended Ning Fan to the Luo clan. Luo Xiao felt somewhat helpless about being ignored by the Luo clan. It's just a small matter. There's no need for fellow Taoist Luo to take it to heart. If I successfully cultivate the war god art, I will naturally be valued. Ning Fan said with a faint smile. He did not care whether the Luo clan valued him or not. Fellow Taoist is right. Fellow Taoist, please accept these mid-grade combat crystals as a token of my appreciation. Luo Xiao heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Ning Fan was not dissatisfied with the Luo clan. With a wave of his hand, he took out a storage pouch and gave it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan glanced at the storage pouch and his expression changed slightly. 1,000 mid-grade battle crystals. The battle crystal was a unique product of the Tianhai Star Luo family. It was a spirit crystal made by a second-step Luo family cultivator using the God of War technique. In the Luo clan, the Aries god art was not only a secret technique to raise the level of the physical body, but it could also be used to condense the power of the Tao of War into a Tao crystal and make it into a battle crystal. The battle crystal was a kind of treasure that could increase a cultivator's battle intent in a short period of time. It was even more effective when used to cultivate battle intent cultivation techniques. The cultivation of the Luo family's Aries art relied heavily on the help of battle crystals. The battle crystals of the Luo family were sold to the outside world and provided for the cultivation of countless Luo family cultivators. The battle crystals were divided into 4 grades, which were low grade, mid grade, high grade, and top grade. In the Luo clan, a low-grade battle crystal could be sold for 10,000 Tao crystals, a mid-grade battle crystal was sold for 1 million Tao crystals, a high-grade battle crystal was sold for 100 million Tao crystals, and a top-grade battle crystal was sold for 10 billion Tao crystals. 1,000 mid-grade battle crystals were worth 1 billion Tao crystals. To Luo Xiao, who was a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator, it was a huge sum of money. I appreciate fellow Taoists' kindness. However, fellow Taoist is at the crucial stage of breaking through to the late ghost profound realm. I'm sure these battle crystals are also very important to you. Therefore, I won't accept these battle crystals no matter what. Ning Fan rejected Luo Xiao's kind intention. He had always maintained a distance from the Luo clan and was not willing to get too close to them. This distance was a habit that Ning Fan had developed after many years of cultivation. After taking their things, he would have to owe them a favor. If it's not necessary, it's better not to accept others' kindness. Seeing that Ning Fan did not accept it, Luo Xiao let out a soft sigh and kept the storage pouch. His opinion of Ning Fan rose again. Those who do not accept others' kindness are usually people who know how to repay kindness. In Luo Xiao's opinion, even though Ning Fan's attitude was distant, he was definitely not a cold person. Tonight, Ning Fan stayed in the guest's abode that Luo Xiao arranged for him. This abode was built on the first of the 3 peaks of the Broken Halberd Mountain. The other 74 guest elders of the Luo clan also built abodes on the Broken Halberd Mountain. All the guest elders living on the first peak were cultivators who had yet to attain the first transformation of their battle arts. Outside the abode, there were many isolation formations. Inside the abode, the candlelight was flickering. Ning Fan was sitting cross-legged on a rush cushion, flipping through the battle-intent jade slip in his hand. Beside him, there were 10,000 low-grade battle crystals piled up like a mountain. He had obtained them from the Luo clan as a guest elder of the Luo clan. Other than that, there were also 2,000 mid-grade battle crystals. He had spent 200,000 Dao crystals to purchase them from the Luo clan. As for high-grade battle crystals, Ning Fan did not manage to purchase any of them. In order to purchase battle crystals of this grade, one must at least be a guest elder who had attained the first transformation. In the Luo clan, high-grade Dao crystals were extremely precious. There were also restrictions on purchasing them. Other than the few top-grade battle crystals left behind by the battle king Luo Ho, the Luo clan did not have any surplus. Thus, they never sold them to outsiders. The cultivation method of the war god art is to condense battle crystals using this art. Then, by continuously devouring battle crystals, one can gradually cultivate their natal battle flame. Dao crystals are required to create battle crystals. Most importantly, it requires an endless supply of Dao of war power. This broken halberd mountain has an endless supply of Dao of war power. It is definitely the best place to condense battle crystals. Normally, cultivators who have yet to attain the first transformation can only use the war god art to create low-grade battle crystals at most. Moreover, the success rate is extremely low. Even if they consume 10,000 Dao crystals, they might not necessarily be able to produce one. Cultivators who have attained the first transformation have a higher chance of producing low-grade battle crystals. Cultivators who have attained the second transformation have a higher chance of producing mid-grade battle crystals, and so on and so forth. Currently, including the guest elders of the Luo clan, there are a total of 57 cultivators who have attained the first transformation. There are only 19 cultivators who have attained the second transformation. As for the third transformation, there is only the clan leader of the Luo clan. As for the fourth transformation, there is only the battle king Luo Ho who is still in deep slumber. Ning Fan kept his battle-intent jade slip without saying a word. He had already memorized all of the cultivation methods in his heart. Then, he waved his hand and took out a piece of Dao crystal. He raised his hand and grabbed at the first peak of the broken halberd mountain. His grab contained an indescribable profoundness. Immediately, the Dao laws on the broken halberd mountain changed slightly. Endless Dao of war power began to flow towards Ning Fan's cave through the mountain's terrain and earth veins, flowing into the Dao crystal in Ning Fan's hand. At this moment, the eyes of all the old monsters in the other 74 cave dwellings on the first peak flickered. Most of the masters of these 74 cave dwellings were at the human profound realm. Only one of them was at the peak ghost profound realm. His name was Meng Xiu. He was the cultivator who was the closest to attaining the first transformation of the cultivation method on the first peak. After sensing the fluctuations coming from the direction of Ning Fan's cave, Meng Xiu snorted coldly and said disdainfully. Is he the guest elder who just joined the Luo clan today? I remember his name is Ning Fan or something. He has just obtained the first transformation of the cultivation method for less than a day and he is already thinking of condensing a low-grade battle crystal, huh? What an arrogant person. With such an unstable temperament, I'm afraid it's impossible for him to attain the first transformation of the war god. As for his action of condensing the battle crystal, there's no need to ask. He will definitely fail. Chapter 809. On the first peak, no one could pass through the isolation formation to see what was happening inside Ning Fan's abode. If they could see it, they would be astounded. They would be astounded by the fact that Ning Fan had avoided all the mistakes that a beginner might make even though it was just his first time condensing a battle crystal. Judging from his crystal condensation technique alone, Ning Fan was almost perfect. He was not inferior to the cultivators of the Luo clan who had been condensing battle crystals for many years. All of this was naturally because Ning Fan had opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm. Although it was his first time condensing a battle crystal, there were no problems with his technique. However, the condensation of battle crystals this time still ended in failure. When the Tao power of war continuously flowed into the Tao crystal and reached its limit, the Tao crystal in Ning Fan's hands suddenly shook violently. Then, it was broken by the Tao power and turned into powder. Looking at the Tao crystal powder in his hand, Ning Fan's eyes flickered with green light and said thoughtfully, "My technique is almost flawless. The reason why I can't produce battle crystals isn't because of my technique, but because of my Aries art cultivation base." Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and drew a battle crystal from the small mountain of battle crystals. He held it in his hand and studied it carefully. At the end of the day, battle crystals were made from Tao crystals. Ordinary Tao crystals were mostly transparent, but after they were made into battle crystals, the color of their surfaces would turn fiery red. On the surface of the battle crystal, there was a layer of fiery red energy. It was like a seal, sealing the power of the Tao of war within the Tao crystal. This fiery red energy was the battle flame recorded in the God of War technique. The flame of war was also known as the flame of war. In the end, the cultivators of the divine war art had to cultivate the battle fire in their bodies. To cultivate the flames of war, one needed to constantly consume battle crystals. The power of the flames of war could be used to condense battle crystals. My body doesn't have the power of the war fire, so I can't make a war crystal. To put it bluntly, the cultivation of the war god transformation is step by step, step by step. Ning Fan's mind was recalling the cultivation method of the first transformation of the war god art and gradually became silent. In order to cultivate the first form of the battle art, one would need to cultivate at least 9 natal battle fires before they could attempt a breakthrough. The process of condensing the war fire was nothing more than condensing the war crystal, consuming the war crystal, cultivating the war fire, and condensing the war crystal again. Naturally, if he was unable to condense a battle crystal, he could still cultivate his first life battle fire by relying on the cultivation technique itself. However, this method was extremely taxing on one's perception, and the speed was too slow. Instead, he closed his eyes and silently sensed the immortal battle intent of the first peak of the broken halberd. The battle intent on broken halberd peak wasn't crazed for battle, it was because they had no choice but to fight. This was the divine void ancestor's will to die when he was besieged by several monster emperors of the same level. This was the stubborn fighting spirit that he had left behind. On that day, divine void ancestor must have been in a desperate situation. On that day, the divine void ancestor had fought with his back against the wall. He had risked his life and his fighting spirit had been left behind to this day. Ning Fan's mind seemed to have traced the battle intent of the broken halberd peak back to a very long time ago. It was as if a boundless savage battlefield appeared before his eyes. On this battlefield, hundreds of millions of cultivators and demons were killing each other, for their own tribes. It was a brutal slaughter. His heart seemed to have returned to the ancient times. His Tao gradually merged with the first peak of the broken halberd peak. The battle Tao power of the first peak was once again guided by Ning Fan. All of them gathered into his body, forming a vortex of battle intent inside his body. Within that vortex, a spark was gradually born. It was very small and weak, but it was indeed the spark of the battle intent flame. However, this spark was really too small. It was so small that it could not be seen with the naked eye. The night passed quietly. Ning Fan's night of cultivation had only increased the size of the spark of battle intent by a few times. However, it was still not visible to the naked eye. According to this speed of cultivation, Ning Fan would probably be able to cultivate his first life battle fire after 30 to 50,000 years of cultivation. This speed was too slow. At this rate, Ning Fan would probably need 3 to 500,000 years to completely cultivate the first transformation of his battle technique. Without a battle crystal, it will take too much time to cultivate this technique. Ning Fan's eyes moved slightly. He took out a low-grade battle crystal and swallowed it in one go. With a thought, the battle crystal immediately melted into his body. All the battle intent that was sealed inside the battle crystal erupted in an instant. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's eyes turned blood red. His expression became crazed and bloodthirsty for battle. This was the reaction that any cultivator would have after consuming a battle crystal. However, as Ning Fan activated his war god art, the frenzied battle intent in his body was immediately suppressed bit by bit. Then, it was absorbed by the spark of battle intent in his body. After refining the first low-grade battle crystal, Ning Fan continued to refine the second, the third and the fourth. When he refined the 11th battle crystal, Ning Fan's face began to turn red. When he refined the 39th battle crystal, blood suddenly oozed out from under his skin, dyeing his white robes red. When he refined the 106th battle crystal, Ning Fan's entire body was covered in blood. The fire of battle intent in his body suddenly showed signs of becoming unstable. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan opened his blood-red eyes and forcefully stopped his cultivation of the war god art. 106 low-grade battle crystals. Is this my limit? Ning Fan said with a slightly regretful expression. The spark of battle intent in his body had already grown into a small flame of fire of battle. However, because he consumed too many battle crystals, it showed signs of becoming unstable. His body, on the other hand, had suffered a severe backlash due to the excessive consumption of battle crystals. Battle crystals could certainly help in the cultivation of the war god art. However, there were also significant disadvantages. Every cultivator of the war god art had their own limit of consuming battle crystals. Once the limit was exceeded, the fire of battle would become unstable and their body would suffer a backlash. Ordinary cultivators would reach their limit after consuming more than 10 low-grade battle crystals consecutively. They would need to cultivate for a long time to sharpen their battle heart before they could continue consuming battle crystals to cultivate. As for cultivators with 5 types of battle physiques, they would need to consume hundreds of low-grade battle crystals consecutively to reach their limit. Ning Fan's limit was 106 low-grade battle crystals. Theoretically speaking, after consuming this amount of battle crystals, he would need to spend a long time in secluded cultivation to stabilize his fire of battle before he could continue consuming battle crystals to cultivate. From the perspective of physique alone, my aptitude in cultivating the war god art is not as good as those cultivators with battle physiques. This is an indisputable fact. However, I also have other ways to make my cultivation speed not any slower than those cultivators with battle physiques. Ning Fan took off his blood-stained clothes and put on another set of white robes. Then, he sat cross-legged on the ground and used the power of the black stars in his body to heal his injuries. After his injuries were fully healed, he activated the baleful qi in his body and a bloody flame of baleful qi was gradually ignited below him. He deliberately controlled the power of the baleful qi within the area of the Immortal's Cave, not allowing any of it to leak out. After releasing all of the baleful qi in his body, the unstable fire of battle in his body gradually calmed down. Even though I am not a cultivator with battle physiques, the battles that I have experienced are incomparable to those ordinary cultivators with battle physiques. My indomitable will to fight was also born from this slaughter. The fact that the fire of battle crystals had calmed down meant that after releasing all of his baleful qi, his upper limit of consuming battle crystals had changed. He continued to consume battle crystals. This time, he consumed nearly 1,000 low-grade battle crystals consecutively. Only then did he reach his upper limit of consuming battle crystals again. Seeing this, Ning Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. He waved his hand and wiped it across his face, turning into his silver-haired ghost face. The moment he summoned the ghost face, his expression immediately turned as cold as ice. The fire of battle in his body also calmed down in an instant. It no longer showed any signs of stabilizing. He continued to consume battle crystals. This time, he consumed 10,000 low-grade battle crystals and another 1,500 mid-grade battle crystals. Only then did he reach his upper limit of consuming battle crystals. If the Luo clan finds out about this, they would certainly be shocked because even the former battle king Luo Ho could not consume so many battle crystals in one go. Refine. Ning Fan uttered a word coldly. Under the silver ghost face, his blood-red eyes were cold and emotionless. After refining all of the power of the battle crystals, Ning Fan's mind merged with the broken halberd mountain. Then, he continued to temper the fire of battle in his body in this immortal's cave. This seclusion lasted for 3 months. 3 months later, he suddenly rose to his feet and stood in the immortal's cave with his hands clasped behind his back. There were a total of 3 fist-sized balls of scarlet flames circling around his body. These scarlet flames were the fire of battle intent that was required to cultivate the war god art. The first transformation of the war god required one to cultivate 9 balls of fire of battle in order to truly master it. The cultivator could then borrow the power of the fire of battle to increase the realm of his physical body. There were quite a number of people in the Luo clan who had cultivated 3 balls of fire of battle. However, most of them had spent tens of years or even hundreds of years to reach this stage. Ning Fan, however, only spent 3 months. With a thought in his mind, he kept the 3 balls of fire of battle. Ning Fan kept the remaining 500 mid-grade battle crystals. With a flash, he flew out of the Immortal's cave and headed towards Purple Silk City. When he flew out of the Immortal's cave, the guest elder Meng Xiu also happened to walk out of the Immortal's cave. Looking at Ning Fan's back in the vast sky, Meng Xiu let out a disdainful snort and sneered. This man has been in seclusion for 3 months. I wonder if he has cultivated even a little bit of fire of battle. As soon as his words fell, he suddenly revealed a look of disbelief. He patted his storage pouch and took out a fire compass. The name of this compass was the Battle Fire Compass. It was a magic treasure that Meng Xiu created himself. In the entire Luo clan, he was the only one who possessed this treasure. It could measure the number of fire of battle that he had and also the number of fire of battle that others had. At this moment, the Battle Fire Compass was facing Ning Fan. Suddenly, 3 wisps of fire of battle intent rose from it. 3 balls of fire of battle. How is this possible? This man has just become the guest elder of the Luo clan for 3 months. How is it possible for him to cultivate 3 balls of fire of battle? In the past, it took me 6,000 years just to cultivate from the 2nd fire of battle to the 3rd fire of battle. The reason why Ning Fan came all the way to Purple Silk City was because he had something to ask Luo Xiao. After he displayed the guest elder token of the Luo clan, there were almost no obstructions in Purple Silk City. Now that he had already reached the limit of consuming crystals, there were 2 ways for him to consume crystals again. The first was to enter seclusion and cultivate diligently to sharpen his battle heart. The second was to use a great battle to completely calm the instability of the fire of battle in his body and stabilize his foundation. Luo Xiao was the 4th commander of the Luo clan. His residence was the 4th commander's mansion in Purple Silk City. When Ning Fan arrived at the entrance of the mansion, Luo Xiao immediately sensed his presence and personally came out to welcome him. Hee hee. Fellow Daoist Ning, I wonder what brings you to my humble abode. Luo Xiao asked with a smile. I came here because I have something to ask you. I wonder if there's any place in this Eastern Ocean Star region that can allow me to fight with all my strength and stabilize the fire of battle. Stabilize the fire of battle? Could it be that fellow Daoist has reached the limit of consuming crystals? Luo Xiao was slightly stunned. Then, he answered with a smile. In this Eastern Ocean Star region, the most suitable place for us cultivators of battle arts to fight with all our strength is none other than the Divine Tomb. The Divine Tomb, huh? Anyway, I'll have to go there sooner or later. It's not a bad idea to go and have a look now. Ning Fan nodded his head. With a leap, he rose into the sky and flew away from the heavenly sea star. At the moment when Ning Fan rose into the sky, Luo Xiao suddenly realized something. He stared at Ning Fan's back with great shock. It's the chi of the fire of battle. It has only been 3 months and fellow Daoist Ning has already formed his first natal fire of battle. This person's aptitude in cultivating the war god art is indeed extremely high. I, Luo Xiao, have chosen the right person. However, Luo Xiao did not know that Ning Fan did not form 1 natal fire of battle but 3. If he knew about this, he would probably be even more astonished by Ning Fan's cultivation speed. The Divine Tomb was located on the Divine Space Star, one of the 3 main planets in the Eastern Ocean Star region. It was not far away from the Heavenly Sea Star. Under Ning Fan's full speed, it only took him half a day to reach the starry sky of the three main planets. During the great chaos in the eastern heaven, he had come to this place before. Today, however, his mood was different. There were many cultivators coming and going in this place. However, it was extremely rare to see cultivators who were above the true immortal realm. Currently, many experts of the Divine Void Pavilion were painstakingly repairing the heaven-suppressing bell with the help of the experts of the Four Freaks sect. It was said that this repair would take at least several thousand years to complete. Because of this, the heaven-suppressing bell had no choice but to be delayed again and again. I wonder if ACI has already come out of seclusion. Ning Fan glanced at the direction of the Eastern Ocean Star. After remaining silent for a while, he landed on the Divine Space Star. During the Great Chaos in the Eastern Heaven, both the Divine Void Emperor and the Divine Void Emperor were gravely injured by Sun Luo. Now, they were in seclusion to heal their injuries. As for the 300 disciples of Great Emperor Shen Void, most of them were busy repairing the heaven-suppressing bell. Even on the Divine Space Star, there were not many true immortals. It was already very rare to see a cultivator at the Dujin realm occasionally. However, Ning Fan knew that this Divine Space Star art should not be underestimated. It was because at the first moment he stepped on the Divine Space Star, he had sensed an old monster with a terrifying cultivation base hiding on this star through the senses of his union of heaven and man. If Ning Fan was not mistaken, that old monster who was hiding on the Divine Space Star was the person who sent out the Limitless Skull and repelled the Quasi-Saint of the Purple Clan. Unfortunately, with Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he could not accurately sense where that old monster was on the Divine Space Star. Is the Quasi-Saint of the Divine Void Pavilion currently on this Divine Space Star? Ning Fan muttered to himself. Just as Ning Fan was pondering, on the heavenly stairway leading to the Divine Tomb, there was also a blind old man who was sweeping the floor. His expression changed. What a young junior! Could this young man be the cultivator who opened the first gate of the Heavenly Being realm? He has opened the gate of the Heavenly Being realm even though he is just at the mid-ghost profound realm. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Truly, the younger generation will surpass us in time. This young man's innate talent should be even higher than Luo Er's. Luo Er had opened the first gate of the Heavenly Being realm when she was in the midst of her fragmented will. The blind old man's expression suddenly became desolate because he thought of a certain foolish disciple. Most of the cultivators who come and go on the Divine Space Star were heading towards the Divine Tomb. On the Divine Space Star, there was a heavenly stairway that connected to the heavens. At the end of the stairway, there was a purple oval door of light which led directly to the Middle Thousand Tomb realm where the Divine Tomb was located. Ning Fan stepped on the heavenly stairway step by step and walked towards the door of light. The reception disciples along the way felt his chi of the second step. Most of them were extremely respectful towards him. That blind old man was the only one who maintained a calm expression. The cultivation base that he revealed in this place was just at the early nascent soul realm. His Tao name was Xiang Bozi. The other reception disciples called him Senior Brother Xiang. At the moment when Ning Fan stepped on the heavenly stairway and passed by Xiang Bozi, the latter suddenly smiled faintly and said to Ning Fan's back. Little friend, you are born with a profound Tao comprehension. You actually opened the first gate of the Heavenly Being realm when you are still at the profound ghost realm. I wonder if you are willing to stay for a while and exchange your cultivation experience of the unity of heaven and man with me? All of a sudden, Ning Fan's eyes widened. He turned around abruptly and stared at the blind old man who was called Xiang Bozi in disbelief. Could this person be the Divine Void Quasi-Saint who is hiding on the Divine Space Star? Why did this person call out to me? As for the nascent soul realm disciples besides Xiang Bozi, they felt extremely nervous. What did they just see? Senior Brother Xiang, who is just a nascent soul realm cultivator, actually dared to call Ning Fan, who is at the second step, as little friend? Senior, please calm down. Senior Brother Xiang is just spouting nonsense. Please don't take it to heart. Senior is an expert who has attained the Tao. Please don't lower yourself to the same level as us juniors. Some of the nascent soul realm disciples who were on good terms with Xiang Bozi immediately apologized to Ning Fan in fear and trepidation. These nascent soul realm disciples did not know what the unity of heaven and man was. They only knew that Ning Fan's cultivation base was extremely high and he was a dignified second-step immortal. He was an existence that they and Xiang Bozi, who were just nascent soul realm juniors, could never afford to offend. Chapter 8:10. Ning Fan smiled bitterly in his heart. How would he dare to blame Xiang Bozi, who was a quasi-sage realm expert? In fact, Ning Fan should be the one who felt nervous when he was suddenly stopped by a quasi-saint realm expert. Little friend, don't worry. This old man has no ill intentions. I just want to exchange some cultivation insights with you, that's all. If little friend is unwilling, you can leave. This old man will not stop you. Xiang Bozi smiled faintly, but his expression was a little disappointed. When he looked at Ning Fan from a closer distance, Nan Bozi felt that Ning Fan's temperament was extremely similar to Sun Luo's. Both of them were stepping on the sea of blood. Both of them had feelings in their hearts. Both of them were devil monarchs with obsession in their hearts. Other people might not be able to see through Ning Fan's background, but Xiang Bozi could vaguely tell that Ning Fan was a devil cultivator. Ning Fan's mind raced as he digested Xiang Bozi's words. This person shouldn't have any malicious intent towards me. Otherwise, he could have attacked me directly with his quasi-saint cultivation base and didn't need to talk nonsense with me. Judging from what he said, he should have already opened the first gate of the heaven-human realm. Does he really just want to share his experiences of being one with heaven with me? After pondering for a while, Ning Fan finally nodded his head and agreed to the old man's request. Xiang Bozi nodded in satisfaction. He suddenly raised his hand, and the two of them faded and disappeared from the stairway. Not good. Senior Marshal Brother Xiang was taken away by that second-step senior. The nascent soul disciples immediately cried out in alarm. Their faces were full of sorrow, but they were powerless to do anything. In a colossus like the Godly Void Pavilion, nascent soul cultivators were nothing more than ants. Practically no one cared about their life and death. From their point of view, since Xiang Bozi had been captured by Ning Fan, he would probably be in danger. He could only blame Xiang Bozi for being reckless and angering a second-step senior with his nascent soul cultivation. Although they were not worried about Borer Z, they were powerless to help. What they did not know was that no one on the stairway knew that Ning Fan and Xiang Bozi had actually not taken even half a step away from their original spot. They were still standing on the stairway, but they seemed to be standing in another space. Ning Fan looked at the empty stairway to heaven and then at the divine space star. His eyes flashed with astonishment. This is a barrier. Just a moment ago, Nan Bozi had set up a barrier around the entire divine space star, preventing anyone from probing. They were still here, but no one knew. There's no need to panic, little friend. The reason I've set up a barrier here is because I'm afraid others will disturb our discussion. If you wish to leave, I can open the barrier at any time and send you off, Xiang Bozi explained with a smile. There was an indescribable sense of intimacy in his expression. Perhaps it was because Ning Fan had attained the unity of heaven and man, or perhaps it was because Ning Fan had a temperament that was extremely similar to Sun Luo's, or perhaps it was because Ning Fan was still able to remain calm even at this moment. Xiang Bozi's attitude towards Ning Fan was actually as amiable as a senior. Ning Fan was slightly stunned. He calmed himself down and cupped his fists towards Bozi. Junior Ning Fan greets senior. His tone was very respectful, but he still maintained 120% vigilance in his heart. Quietly, the Slayer Emperor's jade slip was hidden in his sleeve. If necessary, he would even be prepared to activate the medicinal power of the fantasy life pill. Ning Fan rather enter the mortal world than become an immortal. That's a good name. Xiang Bozi's closed eyes moved blindly and turned towards Ning Fan's sleeve. He seemed to have noticed that Ning Fan was hiding something to protect himself. However, he did not point it out. He just sighed softly and shook his head. I'm Xiang Bozi. Just like you, I've already opened the first gate of the heavenly being realm. The reason why I asked you to stay today is because I want to discuss your cultivation experience of attaining the unity of heaven and man. May I know how you feel about the opening of the gate of the heavenly being realm? Xiang Bozi's tone was extremely polite when he asked this question. Feeling, huh? Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He pondered for a moment and then said, the biggest feeling I have about the opening of the gate of the heavenly being realm is that it's too coincidental. It's so coincidental that there are no signs at all. Little friend, do you think that the opening of the gate of the heavenly being realm is purely coincidental? When I first opened the gate of the heavenly being realm, I also had the same opinion as you. However, as time passed, my opinion gradually changed. Everything in this world has its inevitability in all coincidences. In my opinion, the opening of the gate of the heavenly being realm can still be traced. It has been countless years since I've been meddling in worldly affairs. During these years, I would sometimes transform into my nascent soul realm and sweep the heaven stairway with these nascent soul realm cultivators. Sometimes, I would transform into a mortal and go to a cultivation planet to live in seclusion. Once, I met a great Confucian of the mortal world and consulted him. He taught me the 3 great realms of life. In my opinion, these 3 great realms are extremely similar to the path of cultivation for us cultivators. Are you willing to listen to it? Xiang Bozi smiled faintly and walked up the heaven stairway step by step at an extremely slow pace. Ning Fan's eyes moved. He followed behind Xiang Bozi and said respectfully, I'm willing to listen to Senior's opinion. He. That great Confucian of the mortal world told me that there are 3 great realms for those who achieve great things in the mortal world since ancient times. The first great realm is the realm of solitary cultivation. If there's a poem in the mortal world to describe it, it would be, climbing the tall building alone and gazing at the ends of the world. When cultivators of my generation take the first step of the Tao, most of them cultivate for the sake of immortality. This kind of cultivation is ultimately passive. It's the fear of death, the fear of falling and dying of old age. Cultivators who take the first step think that immortality is the end of cultivation. They think that they have seen the whole picture of the great Tao and the ends of the world. However, they don't know that it's just their view from the bottom of a well. This great Tao has no end. In this world, there's also no end of the world. They don't know, but they still cultivate alone, accumulating what they have learned along the way just to see everything clearly one day. This is the first great realm of the Tao. This great Tao has no end. This world also has no end. Ning Fan's eyes moved. After cultivators of my generation step into the second step of the Tao, they will gradually realize that life and death are nothing but illusions. Immortality is just the beginning of immortality. At this time, what they pursue is no longer immortality but the truth of the Tao. They want to find out the truth of the Tao. No one is forcing them, but they pursue it diligently and persistently. Even if they fail, they will have no regrets. This is the second great realm of the Tao, the realm of persistence without regrets. In my opinion, the reason why the second step cultivators are stronger than the first step cultivators is not only because of their cultivation base but also their pursuit of the great Tao. The pursuit of the great Tao, huh? Ning Fan murmured. The third step of the Tao is too far away. In my opinion, it's a realm of looking back suddenly. From a mortal to a cultivator, from a cultivator to an immortal, from an immortal to a mortal. Perhaps this is the only way to step into the distant third step of the Tao. As he said that, Xiang Bozi's face suddenly showed a perplexed expression. He had been in the quasi-saint realm for countless years, but he still couldn't step into the legendary third step of the Tao. Senior's words about dividing the 3 steps of the Tao into 3 great realms are quite philosophical. However, what does all of this have to do with opening the door of the unity of heaven and man? Ning Fan suddenly asked, interrupting Xiang Bozi's perplexed thoughts. Cultivating alone, pursuing without regrets. Looking back suddenly, success comes naturally when the conditions are right. This is the method of opening the door of the heaven and man in my eyes. However, in little friend's opinion, all of this seems to be just a coincidence. Xiang Bozi said with a faint smile. Cultivating alone, pursuing without regrets. Looking back suddenly, success comes naturally when the conditions are right. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly widened as if he had been enlightened. He seemed to have understood something but he couldn't put it into words. Xiang Bozi looked at Ning Fan with a smile. It was as if he had found a confirmation from Ning Fan's enlightenment and gained something from it. Little friend, you seem to have cultivated the war fire ability of the Luo clan. Did you come to the divine tomb today to seek a battle? Xiang Bozi suddenly asked. That's right. Ning Fan put away his expression and answered respectfully. It's fate that I'm able to meet little friend today. I'll give this item to you. Perhaps one day, this item will be able to help little friend cultivate battle arts. If little friend can cultivate the fourth transformation of this battle art and save the battle king of the Luo clan, it can also slightly offset my disciple's sins. Xiang Bozi waved his palm and took out a square-shaped golden token, passing it to Ning Fan. There was only a single divine seal character inscribed on the token, battle. This is the Four Fish Sect's battle order. With this token, you can use the 4 teleportation formations in the 4 heavens immortal world. You can freely enter and exit the savage battlefield where the 4 heavens and the demon race have been fighting for generations. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with excitement. In the 4 Fish Sect, only those who had attained the 4th grade Heavenly Supervisor, immortal position could receive the battle order. In the entire 4 heavens, those who had attained the immortal position of Heavenly Supervisor were at least ancient monsters. As for those who had attained the 3rd grade Star Lord immortal position, there were only the 28 star constellation ancient emperors of the 4 Fish Sect. Currently, there was not a single 2nd grade or 1st grade immortal position. Nominally, Ning Fan was once bestowed an 8th grade immortal position in the Devil Conferral Summit. He was considered as a low-grade immortal official among the 9th grade immortal positions. With Ning Fan's qualifications, it was impossible for him to receive the battle order through the proper channels. I can't accept this token. Ning Fan withdrew his expression and was about to return the battle order to Xiang Bozi. Xiang Bozi just waved his hand and did not accept it. Then, he waved his hand to undo the barrier. Step by step, he walked down the heavenly stairway and transmitted his voice to Ning Fan with a smile. The battle intent on the Broken Halberd Peak is limited after all. In the past, the Battle King Luo Ho had attained the 4th transformation in the savage battlefield. This token is just a waste in my hands. However, it will be of help to you. You don't have to reject it. Besides, this is not my kindness towards you. It's my apology to the Luo clan. I just hope that I can use your hand to awaken the Battle King. That's all. Alright. Little friend, it's time for you to go to the Divine Tomb. Xiang Bozi just smiled and did not turn his head back. Ning Fan looked at Xiang Bozi's back and remained silent for a long time. In the end, he carefully examined the token and kept it into his storage pouch. After that, he cupped his fists at Xiang Bozi and turned around to continue walking up the heavenly stairway. Even though he did not have a good impression of the Godly Void Pavilion, he did not dislike Xiang Bozi too much. However, what surprised Ning Fan was that Xiang Bozi, a dignified quasi-saint realm cultivator, actually treated people kindly. He was not as arrogant and conceited as some powerful old monsters. Befriending a nascent soul realm cultivator and discussing the Tao with mortals. Xiang Bozi had the temperament of returning to simplicity. An immortal emperor was already standing at the peak of the immortal realm. As for quasi-saints, they were walking down the mountain bit by bit and returning to the mortal world. When I go up the mountain, I become an immortal. When I descend the mountain, I become immortal. My path has yet to reach the peak of the immortal realm. It's still far from the time for me to descend the mountain. Ning Fan walked to the top of the heavenly stairway step by step and stepped into the oval door of light. Then, he appeared in a vast and boundless world. This world was, in fact, a gigantic bronze coffin. There were 9 levels of the world inside the coffin and countless tombs were built there. As for Ning Fan, he was currently inside this coffin in the world of the first level of the Divine Tomb. The world that entered his sight was desolate. Far away from him, there were millions of gigantic palaces built. All of the palaces looked like giant coffins. Nearby, there was a small cultivation market which had a total of hundreds of shops. Some of these shops were opened by the cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion while some were rented by cultivators from other places. They sold all kinds of heavenly ingredients and earthly treasures here. Of course, most of the items sold were the immemorial fiend god cultivation techniques of various grades. Senior, may I know if you have come to the tomb world to challenge the tomb palaces or to purchase cultivation methods and inheritance crystals? Do you need me to be your guide? Just as Ning Fan was looking around, a beautiful void fragmentation realm female cultivator walked towards him on the long street where people were coming and going from the market. With her eyesight which had been wandering in the tomb world for many years, she could tell at a glance that it was Ning Fan's first time coming to the divine tomb. If she could be his guide, she would be able to earn a lot of Dao crystals. Chapter 8:11. Ning Fan shifted his gaze to the side and looked at her. The beautiful lady in front of him was just at the third heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Even though she was beautiful, her primordial Yin was no longer there. She was no longer a virgin. There was a faint smell of seductive fragrance on her body. Generally speaking, only some unrestrained female devil cultivators in the four heavens would embellish this kind of seductive fragrance on their bodies. You want to be my guide? Ning Fan withdrew his gaze and asked indifferently. Yes. I have cultivated in the tomb world for many years and I know this place like the back of my hand. Senior only needs to pay me 1,000 Dao crystals and you can get me to be your guide. Of course, even if Senior has special requests for me, I will also agree to them one by one. When she mentioned the word special requests, the beautiful lady's eyes shone with a seductive charm. Her red lips parted slightly and she breathed out a mouthful of red mist at Ning Fan. Ning Fan frowned slightly. His eyes turned sharp and the red mist immediately disappeared. The beautiful lady's face turned slightly pale. Suddenly, she could not stand steadily and stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. That red mist was the bewitching technique that she had cultivated for many years. In addition to her innate beauty, she had used it to seduce seniors and old monsters to sleep with her. However, when she used it to seduce Ning Fan, it was destroyed by his gaze. Without a doubt, Ning Fan was an expert in bewitching techniques. His cultivation base was far beyond her who was just a third breaking realm cultivator. Don't do unnecessary things. You just need to be my guide. Ning Fan gave her a warning glance. Then, he raised his hand and took out a storage pouch that contained 1,000 Dao crystals and handed it to her. The beautiful lady kept the storage pouch and immediately apologized to Ning Fan in fear and trepidation. She no longer dared to seduce Ning Fan. At this moment, she had already determined that Ning Fan was a powerful devil cultivator who did not match his scholarly appearance at all. He must not be offended. She calmed herself down and said to Ning Fan respectfully. Senior, I wonder if you are here to purchase the cultivation methods and inheritances of the ancient fiend gods or to challenge the various tomb palaces. If it's the former, I can bring you to the cultivation market here to purchase cultivation methods and inheritance crystals. If it's the latter, I can tell you the rules and benefits of challenging the tomb palaces here. Show me around the cultivation market first. Ning Fan said indifferently. He had long heard that within the Eastern Heaven deity tomb, there would be all sorts of primordial fiend god cultivation techniques that would circulate from time to time, and it was only today that he got to see it with his own eyes. Then, she immediately led Ning Fan into the market and explained everything to him in detail. There were only two types of shops in the market. Generally speaking, shops opened by foreign cultivators would only sell 1-star to 3-star fiend god cultivation techniques and legacy crystals. The shops opened by Godly Void Pavilion cultivators would sell 1-star to 6-star God Fiend cultivation methods. Naturally, there were also many shops that sold elixirs to provide supplies for those who challenged the palace tomb. Ning Fan's spirit sense scanned through the shops in this place and his expression gradually changed. Here, primordial God Fiend cultivation technique jade slips were as common as cabbages, filling the shelves of every shop. 1 to 3-star cultivation techniques were relatively cheap, and could usually be bought with a few thousand Dao crystals. 4 to 6-star cultivation techniques were rather expensive, ranging from tens of thousands to tens of millions of Dao crystals. He walked into each shop and carefully scanned the shelves. On one of the shelves of a store, Ning Fan even found the 4-star devil art that he had once cultivated, Corpse Devil Record. Its price was only 10,000 Dao crystals. There was even a 6-star devil art, Nirvana scripture that Moksha's sovereign cultivated. Its price was 14 million Dao crystals. Occasionally, there would be shops that sold half-star cultivation techniques, yin-yang transformation. The price was only a few tens of Dao crystals, but no one was interested in them. There was no complete 5-star devil art. There were only some incomplete copies. Even so, each of them was sold for more than 30 million Dao crystals. There was actually someone who set up a stall on the street to buy the complete black devil art. The price was enough to buy a 7 or 8-star devil art. The person who wanted to buy the complete black devil art was an old monster whose cultivation base was close to Duzhen's. He placed a sign on the stall. There was a partial introduction of the black devil art on it. The black devil art is the sect master cultivation technique of the Black Devil sect in the Northern Heaven. The person who obtains this cultivation technique will be the master of the Black Devil sect. If anyone has a complete version of the Black Devil art, I am willing to buy it for 10 billion. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn and murmured. A 5-star devil art can actually be sold for 10 billion. Senior, you might not know this, but some fiend god cultivation techniques don't have a high grade, but they have special effects. That's why their prices are extremely high. For example, this black devil art is the sect master cultivation technique of an ancient force in the Northern Heaven immortal world. That's why its price is rather high. Unfortunately, there's no Black Devil Tomb Palace in the Divine Tomb. There's no other way to obtain this cultivation technique. The incomplete version of the Black Devil art that is being sold here is usually obtained by the cultivators here through other means. I see. Ning Fan glanced at the old man's stall again. Then, he shook his head and left. Of course, it was impossible for him to sell the sect master cultivation technique of the Black Devil sect to an outsider for the sake of 10 billion Dao crystals. This was a cultivation technique that the old devil had taught him. It must not be passed down easily. In this market, the jade slips for cultivation techniques were the cheapest. The one with a higher price was the inheritance crystal. The inheritance crystal could directly transmit the cultivation memory of the fiend god cultivation technique into the cultivator's sea of consciousness, saving a lot of cultivation time. Therefore, its price was usually 10 times higher than a cultivation technique of the same level. Other than the inheritance crystal, there were also a few shops that sold something called the fiend god relic. The fiend god relic was the most expensive item in the cultivation market. Any of the fiend god relic was priced at more than 100 million Dao crystals. In a shop that was opened by a late True Crossing Realm old monster, Ning Fan saw Poison Devil relic that was priced at 5 billion Dao crystals. Within this Poison Devil relic, the light of law was faintly flowing. Relics are something that only a few heavenly tombs would produce. For example, this Poison Devil relic is the spoil of war that the owner of this shop obtained when he went through the Poison Devil Tomb Palace a few days ago. This relic is extremely beneficial to the cultivators of the Poison Devil scripture. However, it's useless to the cultivators of other cultivation techniques. The beautiful woman explained. Ning Fan nodded his head slightly and left the shop. 2 hours had passed. He had already walked through the entire market. At the end of the market, there was a small square. At the center of the square, there was a gigantic jade stele that was 100 zhang tall. There were thousands of names on the jade stele. After each name, there was a score. These names were also arranged according to the ranking of the participants. This is the tombstone that records the grave merit points of the previous generation's tomb guardians. The people on the tombstone are the tomb guardians of the previous tomb competition. The beautiful woman explained. Ning Fan's eyes scanned across the tombstone. On this huge tombstone, the person with the lowest grave merit points only had a few hundred points. The person with the highest grave merit points actually had millions of grave merit points. On this huge tombstone, the person with the highest grave merit points was the bone immortal monarch, Jun Changdong. His grave merit points were 3.4 million. The grave merit points can only be obtained by challenging the tomb palace. Only the previous tomb guardians have them. The grave merit points can be exchanged for Tao crystals in the Godly Void Pavilion or exchanged for cultivation methods, pills and many other rewards. The level of the grave merit points is not necessarily related to the ranking of the tomb guardians in the tomb competition. However, it can also reflect the strength of the tomb guardians to a certain extent. The number of tomb guardians in this tomb competition has yet to be determined. Once it is determined, the names on this tombstone will be replaced with the names of the tomb guardians. The beautiful woman continued. Ning Fan looked at Jun Changdong's name and went silent for a while. Then, he asked the beautiful woman about the rules of challenging the tomb palace and asked her to leave. The divine tomb was divided into 9 floors. In the first 6 floors, there were countless tomb palaces on each floor. They were divided into the heavenly tomb, earth tomb and human tomb. There was no danger in the human tomb. It was a place for cultivators to go into seclusion and comprehend their cultivation methods. There were different kinds of dangers in the earth tomb. After passing them, one could obtain cultivation method jade slips and inheritance crystals as rewards. In the heavenly tomb, there were illusions of the tomb master. If one could defeat these illusions, one could obtain the special product of the heavenly tomb, Fiend God Relic. Activating the tomb palace required Tao crystals. Different levels of tomb palaces had different cultivation level restrictions. Those whose cultivation levels were higher than the upper limit would not be able to enter the tomb palace. The human tomb had a limit of 1 person per palace. Only 1 person could enter at a time. A second person would definitely not be able to enter. The earth tomb had a limit of 10 people. If 1 person could not pass the test alone, 10 people could join hands to do so. The heavenly tomb had a limit of 50 people. Ning Fan leaped into the sky and flew towards the group of tomb palaces in the distance. The purpose of his visit this time was to fight. Thus, he directly ignored the human tomb and scanned through the earth tomb and heavenly tomb with his spirit sense. Among the millions of tomb palaces, the human tomb took up 90% while the earth tomb took up 10%. There were only a few heavenly tombs. Most of the earth tombs and heavenly tombs in the first level of the divine tomb had a cultivation level restriction of void fragmentation realm. Occasionally, there were a few earth tombs whose cultivation level was restricted to early human profound realm. After walking through the first level, Ning Fan sighed softly. With his current cultivation level, he could not challenge this level of tomb palaces. Using a gigantic light gate at the end of this world, Ning Fan was teleported to the second level of the divine tomb. There were no markets for cultivators in this second level. The number of tomb palaces was only several tens of thousands. The cultivation level of the tomb palaces in this second level was mostly restricted to early ghost profound realm. However, with Ning Fan's current cultivation level, he still could not enter it. So, I can only go to the third level. Ning Fan leaped into the air and turned into a ray of light, rushing towards the light gate that led to the third level. After entering the third level, Ning Fan immediately landed on the ground and spread his spirit sense. In this third level, there were only around 9,000 tomb palaces. The cultivation level of the tomb palaces here was mostly restricted to the peak true crossing realm. Almost all the human tombs in this level had been opened. Many void fragmentation realm, life immortal realm and even true crossing realm true immortals were cultivating in seclusion in this level. There were only around 1,000 earth tombs in this level while there were only 4 heavenly tombs. Ning Fan leaped into the air and arrived in front of one of the earth tombs. His eyes swept across a gigantic monument outside the tomb palace. The cultivation level restriction of this tomb palace and the number of Tao crystals required to open this tomb were marked on the monument. This tomb is the one left behind by Lian Yen Huemo after his death. It contains the 3 stars devil art, Lian Yen scripture. To open this tomb, one person will need 1,000 Tao crystals. Ning Fan withdrew his gaze and walked to the gigantic gate of the tomb palace. The gate was still in a sealed state and could not be opened. Outside the giant door stood two ancient bronze statues. Ning Fan took out a storage pouch containing 1,000 Dao crystals according to the lady's introduction and offered it to the heavens. Immediately, the storage pouch turned into two rays of light and flew into the bodies of the two bronze statues. The eyes of the two bronze statues suddenly lit up with dark purple light. At this moment, the gigantic gate of the tomb palace slowly opened. Without saying anything, Ning Fan leaped into the tomb palace. At the next moment, the gate of the tomb palace closed. As far as the eye could see, the world was dark and gloomy. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the place under his feet was a large graveyard built in a volcanic valley. The moment Ning Fan arrived, the soil of the graveyard suddenly moved. Undead spirits that were burning with flames crawled out from the ground continuously. The cultivation level of these undead spirits varied from the vein opening realm to the void fragmentation realm. As soon as they appeared, they immediately attacked Ning Fan. With Ning Fan's eyesight, he could tell that these undead spirits were illusions and not real. In other words, the entire world inside the tomb palace was a world transformed by an illusion technique. Everything was fake. However, in this illusory world, a single mistake would cause one to be injured by the undead spirits or even die. The injuries and deaths were all real. The third level of the earth tomb seems to be a little too simple. Ning Fan casually flicked his sleeve. Immediately, an unimaginably mighty force blasted out, annihilating these undead spirits. However, after killing one batch, a second batch would immediately appear. After killing the second batch, there was still a third batch. 2 hours passed. Ning Fan had already annihilated a total of 100 batches of undead spirits. At this moment, a 10,000 zhang tall giant flame devil with a 9th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivation base suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. As soon as it appeared, it immediately lifted its foot and stomped in Ning Fan's direction. Without saying a word, Ning Fan lifted his hand and pointed at the giant flame devil. The grand momentum of heaven and earth seemed to be guided by Ning Fan's finger. With just a press of his finger, it was as if the entire heaven and earth was blasted towards the giant flame devil, killing it. At the moment when the giant flame devil was killed, rays of fiery light flew from all directions and condensed into a fiery red jade slip, floating in front of Ning Fan. Ning Fan bent his palm and scanned the contents of the jade slip with his spirit sense. Then, he revealed a thoughtful expression. At the next moment, the formation of the tomb palace trembled slightly and teleported Ning Fan out of the tomb palace. 3 stars devil art, Lian Yen scripture, huh? Ning Fan shook his head and kept the jade slip of the Lian Yen scripture. Then, he flew towards the other tombs. Another 8 hours passed. Ning Fan had gone through the other 4 tombs and obtained 3 sets of 3 stars fiend god cultivation methods as well as the inheritance crystal of a certain 3 stars divine art. To him, a 3 stars fiend god cultivation method was useless. Besides, challenging the 3rd floor of the tomb was not enough for him to use his full strength. He looked at the 4 heavenly tombs in the distance and then at the teleportation portal in the distance. Then, he fell into deep thought. Currently, he was not a tomb keeper. Thus, he did not have the right to enter the 4th floor. If he doesn't want to challenge the earth tombs, his only choice was to challenge the heavenly tombs. Among the 4 heavenly tombs on this floor, 3 of them were dim and only one of them was still glowing with divine light. The ones that were dim were the ones that had been cleared by others. They would be in a dormant state for tens of years and would not be able to be opened. This was also the difference between the heavenly tombs and the other tomb palaces. If the heavenly tombs are broken, they would certainly need tens of years to recover. Ning Fan's body flashed and he flew outside the heavenly tomb that was still glowing with divine light. This tomb was called the Stone Devil Heavenly Tomb. Each person would have to pay 200,000 Dao crystals to enter this tomb. Currently, more than 40 cultivators had gathered outside the tomb palace of the heavenly tomb. They were recruiting people in an attempt to break through this tomb together. Other than a few rogue immortals, all of them were second-step life immortal realm experts. There were 27 human profound life immortal realm experts and 14 ghost profound life immortal realm experts. Among the 14 ghost profound life immortal realm experts, a few of them were at the peak ghost profound realm. Today, we have gathered here just to break through this stone devil heavenly tomb and obtain the stone devil relic. Now, including me, there are already 44 fellow Taoists here. After gathering another 6 Taoists, we will be able to break through the tomb together. If we obtain the relic, I will certainly thank all of you for your help. A peak ghost profound realm yellow-robed old man was saying something to the other cultivators. When he saw Ning Fan's arrival, his eyes immediately lit up. I am Huang Xuanzi, an inner sect disciple of the sect pavilion of the 4 divine void pavilions. Fellow Taoist, are you here to help me after hearing that I am going to break through the stone devil heavenly tomb? I'm not. Ning Fan shook his head indifferently. He walked past the crowd and walked towards the giant gate of the tomb palace alone. Immediately, a few life immortal realm experts beside him said with surprise. What is this person trying to do? Could it be that he wants to break through the stone devil heavenly tomb with his own strength? With his mid-ghost profound realm cultivation base, he will definitely die if he enters the stone devil heavenly tomb alone. Huang Xuanzi's eyes turned slightly gloomy and he snorted coldly. Could it be that fellow Taoist wants to break through the heavenly tomb alone? Fellow Taoist, do you know that there is an illusion stone devil that is close to the Duzhen realm in this stone devil heavenly tomb? Let me give you a piece of advice. You better not take your own life as a joke. Teaming up with us to break through the heavenly tomb is a wise move. An illusion stone devil that is close to the Duzhen realm, huh? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with light, but he did not stop walking. What he wanted was to fight an illusion that had at least this level of strength with all his might. Only by doing so could he completely stabilize the flames of war and continue to consume the crystals to cultivate. When he arrived at the giant door, Ning Fan handed over the 200,000 Dao crystals that he needed to break through the tomb. At the moment the door opened, he stepped into it. What he saw was a barren land. The ground was filled with broken rocks and broken weapons. On this barren land, there was a gigantic mountain that towered into the sky. It had existed silently for a long time. At the moment when Ning Fan stepped into this place, the devil chi of the mountain manifested. It grew a head and limbs, turning into a 100,000 zhang tall black stone giant. Outside the stone devil heavenly tomb, Huang Xuanzi and the other cultivators wore unpleasant expressions. Especially Huang Xuanzi. He had lowered his status to invite Ning Fan to join his group, but he was actually rejected. Then, he tried to persuade Ning Fan with kind words, but the latter did not listen to him. This made him quite dissatisfied with Ning Fan. This young man is just at the mid-ghost profound realm. Challenging the stone devil alone with his cultivation base is just like seeking his own death. Huang Xuanzi harumphed coldly. His face was filled with displeasure. At this moment, an incomparably shrill scream suddenly resounded from inside the stone devil heavenly tomb. However, the scream was not Ning Fan's. The stone devil is actually screaming inside the tomb palace. What exactly happened inside the tomb palace? All of a sudden, Huang Xuanzi's expression changed greatly. As for the cultivators outside the tomb palace, their expressions changed drastically.